bottom of the 8th, erasing a 3-2 deficit. Andres Galarraga's ground out allowed Hubie Brooks to score the game-winning run. Earlier in the day, the Chicago Cubs did the Expos a favor with a 6-2 win over the Mets. This was Dave Martinez's game-winning RBI for the Cubs, dropping the Mets to 3.5 games behind St. Louis. For Whitey Herzog's Cardinals, Vince Coleman was the big story, celebrating his 26th birthday. Coleman scored one of his 2 runs on this Ozzie Smith RBI. Coleman singled, tripled, and stole his 103rd base. All of which sets up the National League East Division standings, with the Cards 3.5 in front of New York and 4 ahead of the Expos. It's nuts and bolts time. Every game is of the must-win variety. Tonight, Bryn Smith starts for the Expos in quest of his 11th victory. Left-hander John Candelaria, in his second start for the Mets, hopes to fare better than his first time out. Labatt Expos Baseball on CBC. Brought to you by Labatt, proud sponsor of the 1988 Winter Olympic Games. And by Esso, makers of Protec engine oil. Protect the things you love. And by 3M, worldwide sponsor of the 1988 Olympic Games. Shea Stadium tonight, a beautiful night for baseball, and the Expos and the Mets. Game 1 of a 2-game series. Neither one of these teams can afford to lose heading into this ball game tonight. Hi again, everybody. I'm Dave Van Horn along with Jim Fanning. And Jim, if you're a ball player, this is what it's all about. It's there for the taking. Now, the Mets and the Expos find themselves behind the 8 ball because the St. Louis Cardinals are in the driver's seat right now. But this is a big series and a battle for second place.
Boy, 12 games left. These 2 games are vitally important. And if these 2 games are split, it isn't going to do anybody any good. The Expos have 2 of their best and most consistent pitchers going tonight and tomorrow night. Bryn Smith and Dennis Martinez, and that's a good way to start this road trip.
Buck Rogers has said he's got to get back home after the Cardinal series. Heading into the final 3 games of the season, he wants to be in second place and within 1 game or less of St. Louis.
I think that's a good way to look at it. However, I think one way that might happen is the fact that they have now moved Pascual Perez up a day. So he'll be pitching on his 4th day and pitch that 2nd game in Philadelphia.
So Perez will pitch on Saturday in Philadelphia. They'll go to Jay Tibbs and the bullpen on the Sunday game and then head into St. Louis for the 4-game head-to-head confrontation with the Cardinals. Stay with us, the Expos and the New York Mets from Shea Stadium in New York.
Anna Dixon has dreams of the Olympics.
Been up all night again?
But not as an athlete. As a Canadian women's figure skating coach, she works hard. At 3M, we understand Olympic dreams don't happen alone. When you buy official 3M or Scotch brand products, 3M will make a contribution to Olympic coaching.
Great routine. Hope it didn't take too long. No, all in a day's work.
3M, supporting the dream.
There's no denying the fact that the Expos shortstop, Hubie Brooks, is a key to the Expos offense. And if the Expos are going to win, Hubie Brooks has to stay hot. And Hubie, it looks like you've gotten hot.
Well, I know early in the year I was hurting all these things, but now I feel healthy. And not only that, I know that I have a job to do here. And we're in it. And I just want to go out there and I want to give my 2 cents, if I can say that. Because I know if I can produce and continue to play the way I have in the last 3 weeks, we'll get over the hump. And I think also that now is the time to play. Because if you're going to play for anything, now is the time.
Well, it's like you've played a 150-game season. Now each game is a season.
And that's the way I look at it, too. It's no looking back. No doubt about it. Anything that happens before today really doesn't matter.
I don't think the manager or the coaches have to do anything to get a team ready to play a series like this. Are the Expos ready to play the Mets?
I think we're ready as we'll ever be. I think we're able to know that our job is out in front of us and what we have to do. And I can tell you, these guys on my team are ready to play, and I think you're going to see some good baseball.
What is the key to beating New York tonight?
Well, I think the key is not to get too far behind until you can't catch up, because they have the horses to score 30 runs if they want to score 30 runs. So I think if we can get a decent pitching performance, we'll score.
So you're saying the pitching has to keep the Mets in the ballpark, and you got to put some numbers up there.
And that's just the way it is, and that's how it's going to be.
Hubie, good luck in the series.
Thank you.
Buck Rogers meeting at home plate along with Davey Johnson, the manager of the New York Mets. With the umpires, plate umpire and crew chief Bob Engel. Working at first base tonight, Joe West. The second base umpire is Randy Marsh. And veteran Paul Runge, the third base umpire. They have gone over the grounds rules here. 338 down the lines, 371 to the alleys, 410 to straightaway center field at Shea Stadium. The field is in good shape. Hubie Brooks was telling me that the field has played very rough in the previous series here. In other words, it looks better than it plays. He says there are some hard spots, there are some soft spots on the dirt portion of the infield, and you really don't know when you get a bouncing ball headed your way whether the ball's going to come up or stay down. That all depends on whether it hits a soft spot or a hard spot. So he said it's been an inconsistent playing surface, but it sure looks great. Weather-wise, as I mentioned at the outset, just a terrific night for baseball and a big crowd on hand to see the Expos and the Mets. Just a little bit of a breeze. Nothing right now that's going to affect anything hit here in Shea Stadium tonight. Buck Rogers, with 12 games to go, feels that the Expos on this road trip, 2 games in New York, 3 in Philadelphia, and 4 in St. Louis, have to go back to Olympic Stadium within 1 game or less in the St. Louis Cardinals. And then things can take care of themselves the final weekend of the season while the Mets play the Cardinals in St. Louis and the Expos finish up at home with the Chicago Cubs. Taking a look at John Candelaria. He is a big left-hander at 6'6", 33-year-old veteran. And the Expos lineup tonight: Tim Raines, Mitch Webster, and Hubie Brooks at the top of the order. Then Tim Wallach, Andres Galarraga, and Reed Nichols, who gets the call in center field. Vance Law, Mike Fitzgerald, and Bryn Smith. The Candyman, born in Brooklyn, broke in with the Pittsburgh Pirates, went over to the California Angels, and now back to the National League with the New York Mets. A rough time his first time out. John Candelaria hopes to do much better here than he did in Pittsburgh when he made his Met debut, which was last Friday. The Mets lost 10-9. Candelaria didn't survive the second inning. He only went an inning and a third and gave up 5 earned runs on 8 hits. So John Candelaria trying to atone for things here in front of the Shea Stadium crowd. The Candyman with 124 lifetime National League victories. Taking a look at the New York Met defense behind the Candyman. In the outfield, left to right, Kevin McReynolds, Len Dykstra, Darryl Strawberry. And on the infield from first to third, Keith Hernandez, Tim Tuffle, Rafael Santana, Howard Johnson. Behind the plate, Gary Carter. So a half game separating these clubs. And the mathematics are very simple. A win for the Expos will vault them over the Mets and into second place. And that's their immediate goal. I mentioned at the start, this is a battle for second. The Expos have not given up on finishing first, but to get there, they've got to get past the Mets first of all.
Right. Both managers really are saying the same thing. They can't afford to lose a game. That translates into you have to win this game if you're the Expos. You have to win this game if you're the Mets. And I can see this game and these games being played like the 7th games of World Series.
The teams have met 16 times. The Expos are 7-9 against the Mets. 4-5 at Olympic Stadium. 3-4 here at Shea Stadium. Tim Raines to lead it off here at Shea, where he made his 1987 debut back on the 2nd of May and smacked the first pitch he saw to right field and off the fence for a 3-base hit. Now hitting at .327, third in the league. This game underway with a called strike. Raines batting right-handed against the southpaw. Howard Johnson about even with the bag off the line at third base. The rest of the infield playing back. Raines hits the ball in the air toward right center. Dykstra has to go. It's in the gap near the .396 sign. Raines has 3 in mind, and he is in there. A 3-base hit for Raines into the gap in right center to open up the ball game.
Tim Raines got a pitch and hit it a little bit out away from him. Hit that ball hard into right center field. Dykstra couldn't pick it up on the first grab. And, of course, Tim Raines had third in mind anyway, and it wouldn't have made any difference. Going to see Len Dykstra here finally catch that ball off the wall as it bounces back to him, then just doesn't pick it up. Of course, Raines was headed for third anyway.
Well, that's almost like deja vu for the New York Mets, isn't it, to see Raines hit a triple? It's almost scary.
Yeah.
Here is Mitch Webster batting at 281. He has been in a slump of late. However, in last night's game at Olympic Stadium against the Pirates, he went 2 for 3 and hit a home run. Also scored 2 runs. 1 ball and 1 strike to Webster, who, like Raines, is a switch hitter. Webster now with 14 home runs and 59 runs batted in. A key at bat early in the game. His job is to somehow deliver Raines. And Webster hits a line drive foul down the left side, and that puts Candelaria ahead, a ball and 2 strikes. Sweaters and light jackets, the fashion fare for the night. 66 degrees at game time. The 1-2 pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Webster up and Hubie Brooks is on deck. And the 2-2. And Webster goes down on strikes.
It looked like Mitch had a pitch to hit there. The fastball looked like it might have been a good pitch to hit right in the middle of the part of the strike zone. Going to take a look at it right here. A pitch that Mitch just swung right through. See where Gary Carter caught that ball.
Candelaria now to Hubie Brooks. And a called strike on Brooks, who's batting at 253. Hubie's hit 13 home runs and has 55 RBIs. Ball 1, 1 ball and 1 strike. Raines at third base. Brooks in his last 20 games batting at 299. Candelaria falls behind 2 balls and a strike. Two and 1 pitch, and Brooks lines a base hit to left field. The Expos lead 1-0. They're leaning on Brooks. He has come through again.
Well, we've been saying for some time that when Hubie Brooks gets hot, he can carry this club.
Number 29.
And he has been swinging the bat so well lately. Line shot there to left field. Drove in a big run. You're going to see a good pitch to hit here, too. Take a good look at this swing. Good, quick swing on a breaking ball just a little bit low.
A big reception for Raines at the dugout. He had to fight his way to get down those steps. The whole team was there to greet him. 1-0 Expos. Brooks at first base. Tim Wallach up batting at 300. And the club leader with 116 runs batted in. Wallach second in the league behind Andre Dawson in RBIs. 1-1 to Wallach. Dawson leads the National League with 127 RBIs. Then Wallach 116. A new club record for the Expos. Fastball foul back, and that puts the Candyman ahead, a ball and 2 strikes.
We haven't seen John Candelaria now in a couple of years in the National League, 1985. Looks like the same Candyman to me. Looks like he has a good fastball, exactly the same delivery. I don't see the movement and sink on the fastball, however. It might be a little bit pumped up.
Here's the 1-2, and that's way outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Wallach has hit well against the New York Mets, batting .385 against the Met pitching staff. But lately, Tim has had just a half a dozen hits in 29 at-bats. And Candelaria struck him out. The second strikeout for Candelaria.
Candelaria has a good fastball tonight. Same kind of a pitch he just threw by Mitch Webster just a few seconds ago. Fastball right down the middle of the strike zone.
That brings Andres Galarraga to the plate. He's hitting at .314, but he's in a mini slump. 2 hits in his last 18 at-bats. 1-0 Expos in the top of the first at Shea. 1 strike with a breaking ball to Galarraga.
I think John is trying so desperately here in this first inning to atone for the tough game he had against the Pirates his last start.
That ball is fouled back. The Expos had Brooks on the move. 0-2 on Galarraga.
And John was pitching against the Pirates that night. John Cangelosi, 5 feet 8 and 155 or 60 pounds, hit the first pitch he threw out of the ballpark. So his debut back in the National League started off a little rough.
Here's the pitch, and it's fouled back to our right. The count stays at 0-2 on Galarraga. Good crowd on hand. The Mets trying to accomplish a feat never before accomplished by a New York Major League club. The 3 million mark in home attendance. They need to average over 38,700 in their final home games. Here's the 2-strike pitch. Struck him out. 3 strikeouts in the inning. So John Candelaria has come back home, but Tim Raines has also come home in the first inning. And the Expos lead 1-0 with the New York Mets coming up. And you're watching Expos baseball on CBC.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Mets continue to make every effort to ensure that you truly enjoy.
To all the people who, with their spirits and their enthusiasm, make sure that each and every Expos game is a spectacular occasion, Labatt 50 says, bravo!
You'll never find a better kind of people. 50's the one.
To all who deserve and demand the best taste in beer, cheers.
You'll never find a better beer. 50!
Roads aren't tough on tires. That's why you need tires that are tough on roads. Motomaster, Canada's best-selling replacement radials. They're built tough and backed tough. Like our new Motomaster XK100 all-season radio, warranted for 100,000 kilometers. So give the roads the tires they deserve. Motomaster from Canadian Tire. Built tough, backed tough.
Yes, we thank you for being fans.
Bryn Smith completing his warm-ups, getting ready to face the New York Mets. We'll take a look at the lineup hosted by Davey Johnson. Len Dykstra, Howard Johnson, and Keith Hernandez at the top of the order. Then Darryl Strawberry, Kevin McReynolds, and Gary Carter. Tim Tuffle, Rafael Santana, John Candelaria. So the challenge is here for Bryn Smith. 10-7, 4.27 ERA. He has a win, no losses against the Mets this year, and his 7-5 lifetime against New York.
Leading off for the Mets, number 4, center fielder, Lenny.
Bryn Smith is a fastball, curveball, palm ball pitcher. Oftentimes uses his palm ball as a strikeout pitch, and he'll try to establish very quickly in this game his fastball and his palm ball. Has a good curveball, will change speeds on the curve occasionally. Bryn's an accomplished pitcher. Won 3 out of his last 4 starts.
Len Dykstra up, batting at .286, 10 home runs, 40 RBIs for the Mets center fielder. Wallach plays in on the grass at third, and Dykstra hits a line drive caught by Brooks, 1 away.
Boy, Dykstra took first pitch, a low sinker, hit it good, and hit it right at Hubie Brooks. Let's take a good look at this. Goes down in the low part of the strike zone and gets this ball good. Len Dykstra is a pesky leadoff hitter. Can do a lot of things with the bat. He bunts, hits the ball all over the field. Tough fellow to defense.
Number 20.
Well, here is Howard Johnson. He's certainly been in the news all season. Got off to a big start in the home run department. Has had his bat checked many times. Suspected of having used a corked bat. His bats have been checked, x-rayed, cut open. They've been found to be clean. And Howard Johnson leads all Major League third basemen with 36 home runs. Hojo takes a strike. His 36 home runs have broken the National League record for most home runs in a season by a switch hitter. Rip Collins of the 1934 Cardinals had hit 35. Now Hojo holds the record, 36. Batting at .271 coming into the game. Way outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Mickey Mantle holds the Major League record for switch hitters, 54 home runs in the 1961 season, the same year that Roger Maris hit 61. The pitch to Howard Johnson, low and inside. Of course, Johnson and Strawberry give the New York Mets a first, a pair of 30-30 members, because in addition to his 36 home runs, he has stolen 31 bases. One out, none on. And Johnson hits a bouncing ball for Law. 2 away in the New York first, and Keith Hernandez will be the batter. The New York first baseman. In a way, as we check out Vance Law, played last night and again tonight. Expos left-hand hitting second baseman Tom Foley has an injured right hand, but that's feeling much better. And with the right-hander pitching for New York tomorrow, Foley will more than likely be in the lineup. There's Tom Foley, and you can probably see the wrap on that right hand. Here's Hernandez. .296 batting average, 17 home runs, 86 RBIs. The captain of the New York Mets. One strike on Hernandez. The Expos lead 1-0 in the first inning. Bryn Smith in many ways is just like his ball club. He goes up against a lot of pitchers who have far more talent, can throw the ball harder, might have a greater variety of pitches. Here's a fly ball in the gap, and Nichols chased it down. Center fielder Reed Nichols with a good play, and nothing across for the New York Mets. At the end of 1 inning of play at Shea Stadium, the Expos lead 1-0.
Rock de l'année, number 1 on the street, une nouvelle collection des succès rock de l'été 87. Number 1 on the street, 16 grands succès, plus si vous commandez maintenant MTV's Rock and Roll to Go avec 14 succès rock. Number 1 on the street, plus Rock and Roll to Go, 30 grands succès, le tout pour $17,95 seulement si vous appelez maintenant. Appelez son frère 1-800-567-9471, Visa et Mastercard accepté. Économisez les frais de livraison. Expédiez votre chèque de $17,95 plus $2 de frais de manutention à case postale 153, succursale Air Montréal, Québec, H2S 3K6.
Here's a look at the pennant race and the games that we'll watch closely for you tonight. The Pirates are at St. Louis. In the American League East, Toronto at Baltimore, Detroit at Boston. The Jays leading by a half game. And in the West, Texas at Minnesota and Oakland at Cleveland. We'll stay on top of those games for you as this one moves along. This afternoon, the Philadelphia Phillies beat the Chicago Cubs 5-0 on a 6-hit shutout by Bruce Ruffin. That was the only afternoon game in the majors. Phillies beating the Cubs. Reed Nichols, the batter, he made a good catch on a drive here by Keith Hernandez. That ended the first inning. The pitch is low, and 1 ball and 1 strike to Nichols, who's batting at .289. Candelaria behind 1-0. And Nichols hits it high into the air, and Dykstra's in center field. 1 away. 1 center fielder with a fly ball to the other.
Right.
Jim, I started to say that in a way, Bryn is like his team. He really does battle. He has to battle and earn and fight and scratch and claw his way for just about everything he gets. And the Expos are that way. When you put them up 24-24, they get outmanned in a lot of areas by the Cardinals and by the Mets and other clubs. But the Expos really battle and scratch. They have learned how to fight together as a team, and it's really been a team effort, resulting in a season that was far more successful than what was expected by the so-called experts, and I think even by the Expos themselves.
I think one of the reasons for the success is the fact that they've played very good fundamental baseball throughout the season. That doesn't mean they haven't had a bad day here and there, but for the most part, they have played as a team. They've played good, sound, fundamental baseball.
2 balls and no strikes to Law, who's hitting .280. And he rips a line drive to left, but right at McReynolds, who didn't have to go back too far to make that play. Ball was hit well, but McReynolds had him played perfectly. And now there are 2 outs in the second, with the Expos leading 1-0. And catcher Mike Fitzgerald coming up to take on John Candelaria.
My quick analysis of John Candelaria is that he has a good fastball, but it's very, very straight in the strike zone. Even though there have been some strikeouts with it, it's been a fastball that's straight, and he has put it in the hitting area of the strike zone.
Mike Fitzgerald takes a strike. .252 average, 3 home runs, 36 RBIs, a former Met. One ball, 1 strike.
Mike will try that once in a while. He saw Hojo quite deep at third base.
Is that a good idea with 2 outs and the pitcher up next?
One of the things it does is gets the pitcher up in the inning so you can start the next inning off with a leadoff hitter. Now, if Mike had somebody to drive in out there, then it would be entirely different. Or even a runner at first base.
Hojo's still going to play back and give him the bunt if he wants to do that. But Santana handles a 2-hopper, sails the throw, and Hernandez off the bag tried to make a tag on Fitzgerald, and Joe West called him safe, and there's going to be an argument.
Rafael Santana was very casual picking that ball up and throwing it, particularly the throwing part of the play. That's Davey Johnson there.
The only thing I can see that Joe would be saying, Jim, would be that the tag was high while Fitz got his foot on the bag.
Right, we're going to
find out.
Going to get a good look at it right here, but that was a very casual throw, and it was a very bad throw. Now we're going to get a good look at what might have been either the tag or a late tag.
If he made contact there, it appeared that Fitz was out. But, of course, he's not out till Joe calls him out, so he was safe.
They do have the last word.
Bryn Smith up to the bat here, takes a strike. 6 hits in 41 at-bats. The scorer is still thinking about that. But it's got to be an error on the throw by Santana. They just haven't posted it yet. Two outs, Fitzgerald on the shortstop's error, and Bryn Smith takes low. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Bryn can put the ball in play. He's hit the ball hard a number of occasions. Has but 6 hits, but a threat.
And a bouncer here for Hernandez, who steps on the bag and gets the out at first base. The Expos are through in the second. After 1 1/2, Montreal 1, the Mets nothing. This is Expos baseball on CBC.
To all the people who, with their spirits and their enthusiasm, make sure that each and every Expos game is a spectacular occasion, Labatt 50 says, bravo!
You'll never find a better kind of people. 50's the one.
To all who deserve and demand the best taste in beer, cheers!
You'll never find a better beer. 50!
This program is authorized under television rights granted by the Montreal Baseball Club Limited solely for the entertainment of our audience, and any publication, reproduction, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Montreal Baseball Club Limited is prohibited. Expos pitching coach Larry Bernard on our left, Ron McLean, the Expos trainer, on our right, and Bryn Smith on the mound, leading 1-0 as the Mets bat in the second. The only two other games underway right now don't involve any of the teams in races in the National League. San Diego and Cincinnati in the second. Reds lead at 1-0, and Houston and Atlanta in the first inning got a couple of runs. And that's all on the scoreboard, with Pittsburgh and St. Louis starting in about 25 minutes.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, leading off the bottom half of the second inning,
Bryn Smith making his 25th start of the season. He was activated the 1st of May. Beat Bruce Ruffin and the Phillies his last time out. Ruffin bounced back and pitched a shutout today. Bryn Smith going after Darryl Strawberry here. 7 home runs against the Expos, 7 of his 38. 1-0 pitch. And a bouncer for Galarraga, who will make the play unassisted at first base, and Strawberry is out.
The big cat, Andrus Galarraga, having just a super year.
If there are any young first basemen in the audience to watch this ball game and check out Hernandez and Galarraga is like taking a master's course.
They're seeing the best, the very best in the National League.
Kevin McReynolds hitting at .277. A called strike. 26 home runs and 84 RBIs. He takes a strike, and the count is 0-2. McReynolds belted his 26th home run of the season yesterday off Rick Sutcliffe, tying his career high for one season. Sutcliffe had the last laugh, though, didn't he? He won the ball game,
right,
and not only is in a position now to win 20 this year, but he could also possibly come up with a Cy Young Award in the same year that he gets Comeback Player of the Year honors.
Well, he hadn't been doing too well until he faced the Expos his 2 starts back, or 3 starts back.
Low and in, 2 balls and 2 strikes to McReynolds.
The Expos got him on a roll. He's pitched 3 wins, 3 complete games. And I have an idea he'll win 20.
In the air to right. Webster racing over and makes the grab. He held on to the ball. And Webster with the play in right field.
Well, first Nichols made a great play in right center field. Now here's Mitch Webster diving for this ball. And a dandy catch.
Two down. Gary Carter to bat, hitting at .238. 19 home runs and 78 RBIs for Gary. Carter lines a single to left field against the shift. Got it over the head of the shortstop Brooks. A 2-out single for Gary Carter, the first hit for the Mets.
I have to give Gary a little bit of credit there. A fastball up and away from him. Kind of reached out and pulled the ball.
second baseman.
That's the kind of pitch that a lot of hitting coaches will tell you to take that ball the other way. This ball is a little bit away and reaches out and just gets it off the far end of the bat.
Gary probably wondering, why couldn't I have done that before? Because he steps into this game hitting .120 against the Expos.
Well, there's been some times he batted with runners on base that could have really hurt the Expos, too. Expos have pitched him well.
Here's the second baseman, Tim Tuffle, batting at .306, 13 home runs, 52 RBIs. Two outs, 1-0 Expos. Tuffle takes an off-speed pitch for a strike.
Bryn hasn't thrown very many curves now. That's a dandy. Bryn has the 3 pitches, the curveball that you just saw, fastball, and then his palm ball.
Tuffle pops one up into the stands down the left field line. Tuffle stands to see a lot of action now. Wally Backman is suffering from a sprained ligament of the right wrist. Might be out for the rest of the year. They still list him as day-to-day, but they're afraid he will not be able to play the rest of the season.
Well, this fellow's come along so well. He's hitting the ball out of the ballpark now.
Tuffle goes down on strikes. Bryn Smith with his first strikeout. That ends the second inning. So at the end of 2 in Shea Stadium, the Expos lead the Mets 1-0. Bryn Smith ahead of John Candelaria. This is Expos baseball on CBC.
Watch Candid Camera on MI5 before it watches you.
Not 10, not 12, but 18 unedited tracks of solid gold. Create today's hottest new album.
This is music. Degrees Celsius at Shea Stadium in New York City, where the game is being played tonight. In Quebec City, we've got a 40% chance of rain with a temperature bottoming out at 5 degrees Celsius. Remember, we've got the national news coming up for you with Knowlton Nash right after the Expo game. My name is Brian Rainey. I'll be with you right through David Letterman tonight. His guests are Billy Crystal and Miss America 1987. MI5 Live. Let's get back to the game.
Expos have 2 here before heading to Philadelphia. They aren't even thinking about that Philadelphia series. Of course, to set up the pitching rotation, Jim, they have to go ahead and take care of that. But the Expos have business to attend to here tonight.
And they're not even thinking about tomorrow.
Yep.
They're thinking about tonight. Every single game is so critically important.
His friends at Shea Stadium. And now leading off the 3rd inning.
Top of the order again, Tim Raines, who led off the ball game with a 3-base hit, scored on Hubie Brooks' single to left. It's amazing when you consider that Raines has driven in 66 runs. The number of times he has crossed home plate now, he's scored 113 runs. Has drawn all those intentional walks.
And missed the first 20 days of the season.
Up against John Candelaria. And Raines hits a drive into left center. McReynolds back. He can't get it. Raines with another extra base hit. This time a double. His 31st of the season. And Tim Raines, the catalyst for the Expos, and he is 2 for 2.
Well, now you go back to the infield bobble of Santana on Fitz to get Smith out of the way so Tim Raines can lead off this inning, and he got a good pitch to hit and hit it hard. And he stands at second base now. He's prepared to score his 114th run of the season. Tim Raines is having fun this year, having fun playing baseball. Had a little chuckle there with Rafael Santana, shortstop.
Webster trying to bunt that ball, fouled it at the plate, 0-1. He signed a pretty good contract. I think I'd have fun doing anything.
I sure would too. Mitch has to get Raines to third base some way, somehow, after this at bat is over. Tried to drop the ball down the third base side.
He got it down the first base side, and Webster is out. Candelaria making the play unassisted. And Raines going to third base on the sacrifice.
The next batter.
Well, the first time Mitch was trying to drag for a base hit. The second time, of course, he was obviously bunting to sacrifice range to third base. Similar situation as in the first inning when Hubie Brooks hit a line shot here to left field on a breaking ball. So we'll see what Candelaria does with him this time.
Hubie Brooks with the met infield in. And a called strike. With the Expos up 1-0 in the third inning. Davey Johnson has the infield in tight. Hernandez and Tuffle on the right side. Santana and Johnson on the left side. Brooks hits the ball to right field. That'll do it. Strawberry back on the track. He's got it. Raines will coast home. It is 2-0 Expos on the Brooks sacrifice fly.
Well, that was all set up just right for Hubie Brooks. Infield in. He had to get the ball through the infield, or, of course, a sacrifice fly, base hit, and he hit the ball hard to right field.
So the combination of Raines and Brooks has clicked for 2 runs. Here's Wallach with 2 outs. He struck out in the first inning facing Candelaria. Ball 1 to Wallach. It's probably worth pointing out at this stage of the game, after Raines' first 2 at-bats, a triple and a double, his batting average right-handed for the season is .401.
Wow, bring the left-handers on. Bring him on for Tim.
The Rock, number 30. Wallach hits one high into the air to left. McReynolds is under this, and that's all for the Expos. But a 2-base hit by Tim Raines and a sacrifice fly by Hubie Brooks, and the Expos lead 2-0 after 2.5 innings. This is Expos baseball on CBC television.
Well, you know, there's a way of life around here. Says the things you love are worth protecting. My machinery? I use quality SO oils. And this little beauty, too. Only Protect. Real good engine protection. It's like you want something to last, you take care. You protect the things you love.
What you're about to see is what makes the new Cooper Superlight a better performance skate. This, the revolutionary Tough Tongue. The Tough Tongue locks your foot comfortably in place. So out here where it counts, Superlights give more support, more control, better protection when you need it most. Try new Superlights with Tough Tongue. See why the world plays hockey with Cooper.
That is the New York Met bullpen. Their bullpen located out beyond the right field fence.
Leading off the bottom half of the third inning.
Those Mets sitting just under the scoreboard out in right center.
Santana.
Rafael Santana to lead it off for New York.
Kind of reminds you of a shooting gallery, doesn't it? 4 guys perched up, looks like on top of a fence.
Santana hitting .262. Bryn Smith working. Breaking ball low, and ball 1 to the shortstop. He'll be followed by the pitcher, John Candelaria, and the center fielder, Len Dykstra. They call him the Smooth Dominican. Some folks are wondering whether or not Santana will be here next year. They've got some depth at shortstop. Youngster by the name of Kevin Elster, and they're about to turn him loose at shortstop. Santana might be on the market. A called strike. The Mets feel that when the offseason comes around, they'll be dealing from strength. Santana rings a liner to left, and Raines is right there. 1 down. That'll bring Candelaria to the plate.
Coming around to the plate, number 45.
Bill Robinson, the first base coach, giving Santana a pat on the backside. Sam Perlozo coaches at third base for the New York Mets. Bryn Smith ahead in this game, now facing his mound opponent. John Candelaria, born in Brooklyn, went to LaSalle Academy here and was a basketball star in New York. Set all kinds of high school records. And Candelaria hits a shot past the first baseman Galarraga and has a base hit to right. Hit number 2 by the New York Mets. The pitcher, Candelaria, on base.
Brent threw him a fastball, a little bit out away from him, and as pitchers can do, just put the bat on the ball. That's what happened. Line drive just past the diving Galarraga. Most pitchers, when they walk up to hit, look for a fastball on the first pitch. And if they get a curveball or some other kind of a pitch, it's simply strike one.
Candelaria at first base, and Len Dykstra coming up. Dykstra lined out to the shortstop Brooks in the first inning. Double play depth on the Expos infield. Ball 1 to Dykstra. Career season in home runs for Dykstra, 10. He had 8 last year, the World Championship year for the Mets. Dykstra taking a strike. Last season, the New York Mets took over first place on the 23rd of April and led all the way. Foul ball out of play left side. They clinched it on the 17th of September.
And this guy had a lot to do with that year last year.
He did, and you can read all about it in his book titled Nails.
A lot of Met players wrote books. In fact, we went by that bookstore not far from our hotel early in the season, and I don't know how many books we saw of Met announcers, Met players. They were all featured in the window.
1-2 pitch to Dykstra, and the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes.
That's a good curve. That's the pitch that he struck out Tim Tuffle on to end the second inning.
Davy Johnson is looking for a big hit from Dykstra to keep things going here in this third inning. And Dykstra hits it on the ground for Galarraga. Drops the ball. Gets it to Smith covering for the out at first base. And they were lucky to get 1. They were thinking 2. They got 1.
Well, actually, it was a ball that the Cat was going to take very easily to second base because Candelaria is not a very good runner. Going to get a good look at it here. It's a high breaking ball that's pounded into the ground. Here's the Cat. Backhands the ball, but you see the ball back in the heel of his glove. And he recovers very quickly with an accurate throw, and Brent Smith made the rest of that play. So you're right. They were lucky, but you got to give Galarraga some credit for a very quick recovery.
Now 2 outs. Candelaria at second base. And Howard Johnson, the batter. Switch hitter hitting left-handed. Cooled off a little bit of late, and someone asked Davy Johnson whether or not Howard Johnson could be tired. He said tired. He's had a rest for 3 years. Started playing every day this year. Ball 1 and no strikes.
Brent came in there with a good hard fastball in on the hands, but just a little bit too much in.
Raines with the play. That's all for Howard Johnson and the New York Mets. They leave Candelaria on base. After 3 innings at Shea Stadium in New York, the Expos 2, the Mets nothing. We hope you're enjoying Expos baseball on CBC.
Ils sont de retour directement de Belgique. Dimanche soir, le 4 octobre, à la salle Albert Rousseau, 21h30. Venez découvrir Front 242. Un spectacle à ne pas manquer. Les billets sont en vente chez Importation Vinyle et sur le réseau Billetech. Une présentation des productions Dernier Recours en collaboration avec Disque Bleu et MI5.
Quality Records presents the ultimate British collection, The Giants of Rock. Duran Duran's Band of L.A., Robert Plant. Phil Collins' Madness, Dire Straits. 14 of the world's greatest rock stars performing for the Prince's Trust. Steve Winwood, Sade, Genesis, Status Quo. Finally, an album good enough to be called the ultimate British collection. It's in stores now.
Just a few years to when the Detroit Tigers clinched the American League East. The Tigers did roar in '84 as they gave their fans a dream season and enough memories to last a lifetime. Those dreams started quickly when Jack Morris no-hit the White Sox in the 4th game of the season as the Tigers got off to a ferocious 35-5 start. Relief pitcher Willie Hernandez was a dream come true for Sparky Anderson.
I've never seen one man do it this consistent and this many times in a row. He's been outstanding for us.
He'd win the Cy Young and MVP awards, plus wrap up the clincher.
He swings and misses. The Tigers win the Eastern Division.
First baseman, Andres Galarraga.
Andres Galarraga, the batter, struck out his first time up. Then Nichols and Law into the 4th inning at Shea, 2-0 Expos. Galarraga takes a strike. A dozen home runs for Galarraga. Done a good job in the RBI department with 86. If anything, the Expos did not expect him to hit 300. They did expect him to hit more home runs.
Now the big cat has been up in the 300s, comfortably in the 300s all season. Gradually getting down into the teens.
And that is fouled away.
He'll have a new manager in Caracas this winter. Bill Robinson, the first base coach and the hitting coach of the Mets, is going to be his new manager at Caracas this year. Billy told me that he was looking forward to having Andrus.
There's a foul ball back into the seats.
And Billy's a very good hitting coach in his own right, so that never hurts for a fellow to be rubbing shoulders with another hitting and cut instructor. Might get a new idea, new slant.
Pitches outside, 1-2 the count. How do the Winter League managers handle that, Jim? I mean, you have Andres Galarraga, who's worked very closely with Bobby Winkles. He'll go down there and play winter ball. Will Bill Robinson make suggestions? Will he try to change anything? Galarraga goes down on strikes for the 2nd time.
Now, what he'll do, he'll talk to Bobby Winkles before anybody leaves this league this year. Here's another fastball. It seems to me when Candelaria wants to get a hitter out, he comes back with a fastball. Threw Galarraga a couple of breaking balls at the start of this at-bat, and then wrapped him up with a fastball.
A called strike on Nichols, who flied to center.
It's kind of like a manager taking a pitcher to winter ball. Doesn't take anybody there unless he finds out exactly what that organization wants him to work on. And the games that you can, you've got some room to do some of those things. That's when you implement some of those.
Line drive to Santana, 2 down in the 4th. 2 quick outs here, and Law coming up. The Montreal Expos player of the game will receive a set of 6 Olympic coins, compliments of Mita copiers. At Mita, we put all our resources into copiers, not microwaves. Mita, all we have are great copiers. One strike on Vance, who lined out to left field in the 2nd. We're in the 4th inning. I'm Dave Van Horn along with Jim Fanning. The Expos are ahead of the Mets. 2 runs on 3 hits. New York, no runs, 2 hits. 2 strikes on Law.
That's the first changeup by Candelaria tonight. And he did throw 3 breaking balls to Nichols, so he's now working in more breaking pitches, and now looks like he's going to introduce the changeup to the Expos hitters.
Law chased one that was down and away, and Candelaria gets his 5th strikeout. The Expos go in order for the first time in the game. Midway in the 4th inning at Shea, Montreal 2, New York nothing. This is Expos baseball on CBC.
Let me see. Grandpa fussed over this logging camp for 40 years. Well, it's my turn to fuss now. In my equipment, I still use quality SO oils. In this honey, too. Only Protec. Real good engine protection. Grandpa and I keep on fussing. Because you want to keep them around. You protect the things you love.
Taking a look at the pennant races, the Jays at Baltimore, Jim Clancy 14-10 against John Habian 5-5, and the Jays lead it 3-0. They got 1 in the 2nd, 2 more in the 3rd. The Orioles are batting now. Blue Jays lead Detroit by a half game. Detroit is at Fenway. Doyle Alexander 7-0 against Bruce Hurst, a 15-game winner. Tigers scored a pair of runs in the 2nd. They're now batting in the 3rd inning, and Detroit leads 2-0. Meanwhile, Oakland with some faint hopes, 4 games behind. 1-1 tie at Cleveland in the 3rd on Averos against Ackerfels. Herman Whittingham and Wallace Johnson. Wallace with the warm-up jacket on and the collar turned up, and they talk it over at the end of the Expos dugout. Whittingham has been playing a lot of center field, particularly against right-handers, with Candelaria pitching tonight. Of course, Reed Nichols is playing. There's Pascual Perez, who's given the Expos such a shot in the arm. Coach Joe Sparks, who handled the Indianapolis Indians of the American Association, the championship AAA club in the association, and the manager of the year there. First base coach Ron Hansen, Larry Bernard. And Dennis Martinez is in the middle of the dugout. He's got the towel wrapped around his neck. He's charting tonight's ball game. Dennis will face Rick Aguilera tomorrow night. And he's talking it over with Coach Pat Doherty. Keith Hernandez flied to center in the 1st inning, and Nichols made a good play racing to right center to get the ball. 2-0 Expos. Prince Smith started to work, then stepped off, and Hernandez stepped out. Ball 1. The Expos have played very well at home. So have the Expos and the Mets. They are tied for the National League lead in home victories, 46. Hernandez skies one. This will be an easy play for Reed Nichols. 1 gone in the 4th, and Darryl Strawberry coming up.
Well, after Bryn missed with a fastball just inside, came back with a little sinker. A ball that can be and should be hit into center field. Tough pitch to pull.
Here's a player who has really been through some things this year. He's been fined $2,200 for arriving late twice to the ballpark. He looked at a curve. He walked out once. He has defied his manager. He has threatened to punch his teammates, saying he'd be better off playing elsewhere. Strawberry has done nothing but make headlines. But lately, he's made all of the headlines with his bat and his play. He's hitting .338 this month, has hit 7 September home runs and has 22 RBIs. He has put together the greatest season by a non-pitcher in Met history. 2 balls and a strike. Darrell also a member of the 30-30 club. 38 homers, 31 stolen bases. The count is 3-1 now.
He is a multi-talented player. One of the few who can run, throw, hit, power, all those things, steal bases.
Strawberry hits it foul out of play, and the count is 3-2. Bryn Smith coming back.
And add to that, he hits the ball out of the ballpark from left field foul line to right field foul line. Just a tough hombre.
He has hit a home run this season off Bryn Smith. And as I mentioned earlier, 7 against the Expos. Ground ball foul rolling to Bill Robinson. Strawberry has a good chance at setting 7 club records this year. He's hit 24 points higher than his career average. Here in the second half, he's played with injuries. Ground ball sharply hit. Past Law. Base hit for Strawberry.
Now, Strawberry saw a lot of pitches that time from Bryn Smith. Got a fastball finally on 3-2. Pitch before that was a breaking ball on 3-2 that he fouled out. Here's a pretty good pitch to hit right here. Strawberry takes it just up the middle and just outside of Vance Law's reach. And he's a threat now to steal second base.
Again, 31 stolen bases. He's been caught 11 times. Kevin McReynolds is the batter. Mitch Webster made that diving, sprawling play to Rob McReynolds in the second. 1 out. Double play depth. Breaking ball taken by McReynolds for ball 1.
Bryn's going to have to work on Strawberry at first base. Going to have to throw over there. Has to hold him close.
Funny thing happened in the exchange of baseballs. Bryn Smith tossed a ball in. He was waiting for his catcher, Mike Fitzgerald, to toss a new ball back to him. But instead of the catcher, the umpire threw the ball back. Bryn didn't see it coming. Watch this. Now he doesn't see the ball coming. Look out. There it goes. And a big smile from Smitty. That was thrown by the plate umpire.
I think Bob Engel could throw it hard enough to hurt you.
The pitch with Strawberry on the move, and the play at second. Not in time. He's safe. Number 32. An exasperated Mike Fitzgerald.
Mike gets away the ball pretty well here. However, I think Bryn probably should have thrown to first base a time or two and made sure that he kept Strawberry close to the plate. Mike didn't have a lot on the throw.
The pitch to McReynolds, and a ball off the fists. Nichols in center field. He's got it. He'll unload quickly to hold Strawberry. He overthrew Brooks, but Wallach knocks it down at third base. 2 away, and Gary Carter coming to the plate. Here's an interesting situation. Bryn Smith against Gary Carter. You see Gary's numbers for the year, 239. He's hit just better than 120 against the Expos. The Mets right now down 2-0. It is a tight ball game, but they're in need of a lift. 2 outs in the inning. Carter will be bearing down. The Expos shift. They send the defense around to the left. Strawberry in scoring position.
This will be a good matchup. Always is. Gary knows Bryn Smith so well. Caught him for a number of years. Sometimes that can be an advantage.
Ball fouled back. Strike 1.
It's always fun, really, to see what ex-battery mates do when they're facing one another in different circumstances.
You can see Buck still adjusting the defense. He has moved Law to the left of second base. Vance was playing on the right side. He moved him. You could see the manager motioning, and now 3 infielders play the left side: Law, Brooks, and Wallach.
I think Buck would lots rather see Gary try to take a ball to right field.
He did, and has a base hit. And here comes Strawberry, and the run will score. Carter defied the defense, and he gave the Mets a lift, driving in a run.
Well, he had a pitch to do it with, too. He had a fastball outside, a pitch that he wouldn't want to pull, and that would have been a dangerous thing for him to do, to try to pull this pitch. Watch the pitch outside. Carter slashes it that direction. Nobody at second base for an RBI single.
That particular defensive alignment has worked time and time again this year for the Expos. That's why Carter's only hitting 120 against Montreal. However, that time Buck made the move, going with the percentages.
Yep.
Carter just got a pitch that he could go with the other way.
Exactly.
So some credit to Gary. But over the course of the season, the defense has done a good job stopping Carter.
Right, and Carter likes to defy the defense. He wants to keep on pulling that ball.
Big swing by Tuffle, and the count is 0-2. Tuffle struck out in the second.
Struck out on a pitch just like that in the second.
We're in the fourth. It is 2-1 Expos. In the dirt, and a block by Fitzgerald.
That's a pretty helpless defensive feeling when there is nobody in a position and the ball goes through that area. Count was 0-2 on that pitch, and Bryn Smith was not going to make any kind of a mistake and got it just a little bit too low. Mike made a good stop.
Tuffle asking for time and stepping out. The New York Mets are coming off a road trip. They played 7 games away from Shea, won only 3 of them, did not play well at all. And they're coming into this series not only with high hopes of being able to gain ground on the Cardinals and doing away with the Expos as a contender, but the New York Mets come into the series trying to straighten their overall game out. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Tuffle. They have several of their key players in some offensive slumps. They have not played well defensively. They have made base running mistakes. Two balls, 2 strikes on Tuffle. And Tuffle pops it up down the right field line and back toward the seats, out of the reach of Galarraga and Law. Carter back to tag up at first base. Gary with his 79th RBI, driving in the first New York run. Three balls, 2 strikes. A full count on Tuffle. And if he gets on base, the batter will be Rafael Santana. Bob Engel letting everybody know it is 3-2.
Let's see if Brent Smith comes back with another breaking ball.
And he struck Tuffle out. That's all for the New York Mets. Second time Tuffle has fanned. They get a run on 2 hits, leaving Carter. And at the end of 4 innings at Shea, Bryn Smith and the Expos lead the Mets 2-1. This is Expos baseball on CBC.
To all the people who, with their spirits and their enthusiasm, make sure that each and every Expos game is a spectacular occasion, Labatt 50 says, bravo!
You'll never find a better kind of people. 50's the one.
To all who deserve and demand the best taste in beer, cheers.
You'll never find a better beer.
hold in your hand.
Come on.
New Omelette McMuffin.
Hold on to a great new taste. An omelet you can hold in your hand.
You're kidding, a what?
That's right, ham and cheese or bacon and cheese.
Hang on to the great new taste.
Omelette McMuffin.
Really?
Yeah, ham or bacon with melting processed cheese on a buttered toasted English muffin.
An omelet you can hold in your hand.
You got it.
It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
New Omelette McMuffins.
Professor, I found something.
A primitive hammer. Excellent condition.
When man makes something well, it lasts a long, long time.
Find something?
Did you drop your hammer here?
Not me. It's probably Joe. He's always dropping things.
Mastercraft hand tools from Canadian Tire. They're guaranteed forever.
For the Montreal Expos.
In the game at Cleveland, the A's now lead the Indians 3-1. And the Indians are now batting in the bottom of the third inning. Phillips and Polonia with home runs for the A's. Mike Fitzgerald, the batter. Bryn Smith leads this game 2-1. Ball 1 to Fitz. He reached on an error by Santana in the second. Candelaria behind 2-0. Candelaria's second start with the New York Mets. Now behind 3-0. Both these clubs, of course, need help. The Cardinals' magic number is 9. The Mets 16. The Expos 17. Neither club really thinking about the magic number department. Just about a win tonight, as we said right at the outset. Now 3-2 on Mike Fitzgerald. By the way, in the National League West, the Giants' magic number is 6. So they hope to do it on the weekend or Friday or Saturday. A leadoff walk. All right, Jim. A 2-1 ball game. The Expos are up. Leadoff walk to Mike Fitzgerald. Here comes Bryn Smith, who is a good bunter.
He will be bunting. He'll be sacrificing Mike Fitzgerald at second base, and he probably will take it all the way to 3 strikes if he has to.
Smitty, with that smile on his face, I'm sure he and Bob Engel are talking about that exchange of baseballs.
Bryn needs to deaden the ball. The defense will be tough on him here.
He tried to deaden it and did, right onto Carter's foot.
One thing about this bunt play, when Hernandez has to hold on the runner at first base, he can't be right under the hitter, as he oftentimes is when there's runners on first and second in a bunt situation. But
Hernandez checking with Candelaria.
Howard Johnson will be coming in on him hard. Hernandez has that little play. He comes in 2 or 3 steps, then goes back to the bag. It's a timing play for a pickoff play to first.
He's coming all the way. The bunt's toward third. Howard Johnson bobbles it. He looked at second, threw just in time at first base. He bobbled the ball because he wanted to see whether or not he had a play at second. Instead of letting Gary Carter direct him, he took his eyes off the ball. That was his mistake, but he recovered and got the out at first.
Exactly. The bunt is a perfect bunt. Second or third bunt kind of runs out, however, to Johnson, and here he is thinking about going to second base. And I'm not so sure that Bryn Smith ran 100% all the way. The reason I say it that way, I didn't see him not run hard, but it seemed like that there was an awful lot of time for him to get to first base.
It seemed that when Johnson bobbled the ball, the runner would have been safe at first base. One out. Fitzgerald at second. Tim Raines the batter. All he's done is tripled and scored in the first, doubled and scored in the third. A called strike on Raines. Tim Raines up here now in an RBI situation. 66 runs batted in for the year for Tim. He's closing in on his career high in runs batted in. The 1-strike pitch. Raines takes that low. Raines drove in 71 runs in the 1983 season.
Raines has an excellent eye at the plate. Rarely ever swings at a bad pitch. And takes some of the closest pitches you've ever seen.
Big high chopper. This is trouble for the Mets. Howard Johnson has nothing to do with this ball. Raines with an infield hit, and he's 3 for 3.
Well, sometimes it isn't how hard you hit the ball. He hit the ball awfully hard for his triple and then double. Here he just hits the ball right smack dab on the plate. You saw it. Bounces very high here to Howard Johnson, and he has no chance, even if he'd have picked the ball up clean. In fact, he's probably lucky that he didn't, because he could have thrown that ball away. Tim Raines now should very quickly be on second base, except it's been some time since he's seen the move from John Candelaria, the left-hand pitcher.
Raines has 49 stolen bases, and here is Webster, who struck out in his first at-bat, then sacrificed his next time up. He looks at a strike. Webster again coming to the plate with a golden opportunity to drive in a run. He batted in the first inning with Raines at third and nobody out. Went down on strikes. Now he's batting with runners at first and third, and he hits one foul. That puts Candelaria ahead 1-2. Hard to tell what he was trying to do with that pitch.
I'm not so sure that I know either. It was kind of a strange swing. Middle infielders are back for a double play. Webster can run very well. The ball is not hit hard. Good chance to drive in a run. I'm sure that in the meeting before the game they discussed the move of Candelaria's.
The 2-strike pitch. And Webster lines a ball to left center, has a base hit. On to score is Fitzgerald. That's run number 3, and the Expos are up 3-1. A mistake by John Candelaria.
That ball went to Dykstra, and Raines took about 3 steps past second base. Dykstra then threw the ball awfully hard to Howard Johnson at third. Candelaria didn't back up the play, so if that ball had skidded off Howard Johnson, lots of problems. That's a pitch a little bit outside of Webster, and he just hits it hard into center field. You might be able to watch Dykstra here. No. But anyway, he was forced to hurry a throw to third base. And luckily, it was on one hopper right at Howard Johnson.
3 runs on 5 hits for the Expos and a 3-1 lead. And Brooks with a hard swing smacks it foul and strike 1. We got the news from Cincinnati that Benito Santiago had a base hit in that ball game against the Reds. He has already set a modern-day National League record for a hitting streak by a rookie. With the hit tonight, it's now at 25. 1-1 to Brooks. 1 out. First and second for the Expos. Webster and Raines, lots of speed there.
Raines will have no chance to steal third base. Santana's right next to him.
Brooks cranks another one foul. That scatters Herm Winningham and Wallace Johnson at the end of the Expos dugout. Herman will now move back to his seat of honor. Timeout called for. Giant economy size beach ball down on the field. One and two on Brooks, who singled to drive in the first run, hit a sacrifice fly to produce the second Expos run. The count is 1-2.
Now, the only walk in this game just scored, and that was the walk that Candelaria gave to Fitzgerald.
Brooks taking low. 2-2. 5th inning of play. 3-1 Expos. Bob Engel hustling out there to clean off the plate. You can tell this time of year in a ball game like this, even the umpires are into it,
aren't they?
There's a foul ball back to the right. I've been watching Bob Engel, as you have, for years and years, and You can just tell in watching all of his moves tonight, he's excited about this ball game.
Well, they're in a pennant race, too. And they have to be sharp and quick and alert and ready.
Candelaria's 2-2. That's fouled back.
Well, Hubie's having some super swings. And Candelaria just keeps pumping the fastball at him.
By the way, just to keep you up to date, with the Expos leading here 3-1, the Pirates and the Cardinals are underway in St. Louis. The Pirates didn't score in their half of the first. The Cardinals are now batting. 2-2 pitch. And Brooks hits it high into the air, bringing Strawberry in right. Range tagging just to draw the throw as Darrell guns it in there. 2 away.
Now, Hubie had a pitch out away from him just a little bit and kind of skied it.
Here's the third baseman, Tim.
A tough pitch to lay off of, and yet a tough pitch to go after, a borderline strike.
One hit in his last 13 at-bats since his last home run. So a mini slump for Tim Wallach, who has struck out and flied to left tonight. A strike to Wallach. Career high 116 runs batted in, up against the left-hander John Candelaria. One ball and one strike. Wallach passed the record that had been held by Andre Dawson of 113 RBIs in a season. That's all for Tim Wallach, and the Expos strand 2, but get one, capitalizing on the leadoff walk. At the end of 4.5 innings, a 3-1 ball game. Bryn Smith leads Candelaria. This is Expos baseball from Shea Stadium on CBC.
The year's best on the year's hottest album, Rock 87, starring Doctor and the Medics.
Every night between now and Sunday with matinees on the weekend. Michel Rivard opens October 8, 9, and 10 at the Palais Montcalm here in Quebec City. But the best show is going to be right here at 12 midnight when we present you Batman. My name is Brian Rainey. This is MI5 Live. Let's play ball.
Some notable and some dubious achievements in baseball this week. Texas knuckleballer Charlie Huff has thrown 30 of the record-tying 33 pass balls catcher Chino Petrali has let by this season. The New York Mets' Howard Johnson stole his 30th base to become only the 8th player to have more than 30 stolen bases and 30 home runs in a season. Ojo joined some pretty fast company in those ranks, including teammate Darryl Strawberry, who also joined the 30-30 club last week. St. Louis speedster Vince Coleman became the first player ever to have 3 consecutive seasons with 100 or more stolen bases. Here's what you don't want to do in a pennant race. Called out on strikes. Vince Coleman takes exception to it. Says a few magic words and he's gone. Coleman thrown out of the ball game. I cannot see who that umpire is. I could only guess it looked. Well, that wouldn't be fair to say who it looked like. Couldn't catch the number on the sleeve or see who it was. I'll say it. It looked like Ed Montague.
It looked like our friend, really, if you throw Vince Coleman out of that game.
I think it was Ed Montague who tossed him out. The pitch is inside to Santana, and a ball and a strike to the New York Mets shortstop. So a costly bit of verbiage from Coleman, thrown out of the ball game.
Of all the games you don't want to get thrown out of, particularly that must have been second inning or perhaps third inning. Early in the game, at least.
To 1 pitch and a shot to Wallach to his left. Santana's out. 1 gone in the 5th. The Expos lead 3-1.
John Candelaria.
Tim Wallach has very quick reactions on the field. This ball is hit hard. High slider. Tim, however, lost his balance right there. Regained it quickly. Made the play.
John Candelaria and a chopper. Bryn Smith with the fielding play. 2 quick outs. 2 down. Dykstra coming up for the New York Mets.
Here's where you have to watch Dykstra. He wants to get on base, can't steal a base, and he'll bunt. He'll push the ball to the left side, take it with him to the right side. So that's what the club now needs to think about in defense against for Len Dykstra.
Just checking, if we were able to read the umpire's number correctly as number 19, and Jim Bay tells me that was the number on the shoulder, that would be Terry Tata. Your friend.
Well, I can tell you he has a short fruit fuse.
Especially at home plate in St. Louis.
You bet. I'm telling you, he'll throw you out faster than you can blink your eye.
You got the quickest hook I've ever seen from a game.
Yep.
You came out to argue a play at the plate, and you hadn't even arrived on the scene. And he turned, gave the right arm jab to throw you out of the game, and he just about made contact.
That's exactly right.
Dykstra hitting that to the edge of the seats there. 2 strikes on Len Dykstra. Was that 82, Jim, when that happened?
No, that was 81.
81.
But Terry Tate and I were in the minor leagues together off and on, and he got me a number of times in the minor leagues, and I really do believe that there was a carryover. In fact, I know there was. But Terry and I have become much better friends.
That's what Terry has said, that you carried it over.
All right.
And he got on me in the minor leagues, and he's still on me. That was his side of it.
Uh-huh.
2 down, the 0-2 pitch. And ball 1 to Dykstra. Fifth inning at Shea Stadium, and a 1-2 pitch in the dirt. 2-2. Jim, let's talk about the fact that it is the 5th inning, soon to head into the 6th. That has been about par for the course for Bryn Smith.
Right. In Bryn's last 3 starts, it was 6 innings in each of those starts. The start before that was 5 innings. Now, he won 3 out of those 4 games.
2-2 pitch. Dykstra fouls it off.
He's pitching very strong here into the 5th inning. And I know that Larry Bernard, the pitching coach, and Buck, of course, they're going to watch him very, very carefully. They are keeping track of the numbers of pitches. He's had a couple, 3 easy innings. This inning started to be a very easy inning.
2 quick outs, now a struggle with Dykstra. And Dykstra sends it toward Reed Nichols in center field. The Mets go in order in the 5th with nothing across. And this game will go to the 6th inning at Shea Stadium with the Expos coming up. They are leading 3-1. This is Expos baseball on CBC.
To all the people who, with their spirits and their enthusiasm, make sure that each and every Expos game is a spectacular occasion, Labatt 50 says, bravo!
You'll never find a better kind of people. 50's the one.
To all who deserve and demand the best taste in beer, cheers!
You'll never find a better beer. 50!
Bottom of the 1st, no score, and as you saw right here, Vince Coleman's been ejected from the ball game. Pittsburgh at St. Louis. Brian Fisher against Greg Matthews. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays lead in the 6th, 3-0. Clancy against Havian at Baltimore. And Detroit leads Boston 3-0 in the 5th inning at Boston. Oakland 4-3 leading Cleveland in the 4th inning at Cleveland. So you're up to date on the contenders right now. By the way, in the ball game at Fenway Park in Boston, Detroit's Bill Madlock doubled in the 5th inning, his 2000th major league hit. Andres Galarraga has struck out twice. Then Nichols, then Vance Law. 1-1. The Expos with 3 runs on 5 hits. The Mets a run on 4 hits. 33-year-old left-hander working. 2 balls and a strike.
Galarraga's the only Expos hitter to have struck out over 100 times. He had 118 strikeouts going into the game tonight. Now he's added 2 to that for 120.
2-2 the count. Ball's got batting coach Bobby Winkles dancing around. The 2-2 pitch. And now a full count.
One thing about striking out that many times and still hitting 300, that means that you're putting the ball in play hard an awful lot.
Galarraga hits one down the right side, and that could be trouble, but it's into the seats, out of the reach of Strawberry, who chased over there.
There's only been 1 walk in this game. That was when Candelaria walked Fitzgerald to lead off the 5th inning, and he eventually scored. Both pitchers have had good control.
Candelaria made 3 relief outings against the Expos in 1985, his final year with the Pirates. No decisions or saves. His first time out as a starter against the Expos since September of '84. Took something off the 3-2 pitch and missed.
That pitch came around the plate. When Gary Carter caught that ball, it was probably a corner pitch. You could see that ball come around the plate.
In the last inning, a leadoff walk came on to score. Mike Fitzgerald drew that walk. Reed Nichols up here again. Let's see how Buck Rogers plays it with Galarraga at first. Nichols 0 for 2. Candelaria went ahead and made a pitch, but timeout had been called for, and Galarraga was on the run.
Alertly. Didn't know what was happening, but he saw that the ball was only tossed to home plate. And that's when Galarraga took off. Time had been called, I guess. Obviously. Buck's got a chance here to do any number of things, but what the defense of the Mets have to think about is the possible bunt. Doesn't have to be. Could be hitting on his own. Could be a hit and run in these next couple pitches.
Reed Nichols has done a good job. He's hitless tonight in 2 at-bats, but checked into the game hitting at .289. He's been a solid defensive player for the club. He runs very well, and he's just gotten some signs from Jackie Moore.
I don't think the Expos have ever had a club where they could put so many different outfielders out there and still have a good outfield defense.
Here's a pop fly, center field. Dykstra coming in. So Nichols got under this one and popped it up. 1 out. Galarraga still at first, and Vance Law will be the batter.
Stepping up, second baseman.
Oh, Vance is one of the best hitters on the club as far as putting the bat on the ball, hit and run plays. So we may be alert for that kind of a play here.
As soon as Galarraga drew that leadoff walk, by the way, Met manager Davey Johnson had Mel Stottlemyre, the pitching coach, phone the bullpen, and they've got Terry Leach up, a right-hander.
Well, he's been about as tough as he can be on the Expos. A tough delivery of his, low sidearm, almost an underhanded delivery.
One ball and no strikes to Vance Law, who turns right away to check out Jackie Moore.
This is the kind of count, 1-0, 2-1, or 1-1. Those are hit and run type counts. Carter also has the option to pitch out.
second base. Galarraga's out.
That was a hit-and-run play, but Law failed to make contact with the ball. And Galarraga not getting a good start because he's not stealing the base. He was an easy target for Gary Carter. Gary just about three-quartered the ball down to second base, full well knowing that he had Galarraga, only needed to be accurate. Wasn't a fastball. Candelaria had taken something off of the pitch. You see here that the cat is out by a big margin.
An easy out for out number 2, and Law fouls one off.
And Vance Law is usually so dependable about putting the bat on the ball in those kinds of plays.
He certainly got the pitch, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
1-2 on Law. That's in the dirt.
I go back to Reed Nichols at bat in this inning with Galarraga just having walked. It's really his responsibility some way, somehow, to get Galarraga to second base. Get the ball behind the runner, operate with the bat, drag the ball, whatever.
Law fouling one back to the upper deck. Candelaria 8-6 for the Angels before coming back to the National League. Law fouling one off. He'd made 20 starts for the Angels. In his final start for California, he lost to the Rangers on September 11th. His most recent win came over the Yankees on September 5th. And Law gets under one, skies it. Santana is back there. The shortstop calls for it. The Expos are through in the 6th inning. At the end of 5.5 at Shea Stadium, Expos 3, Mets 1. You're watching Expos baseball on CBC. Of the Toronto Blue Jays belted 3 home runs in one game against Baltimore, but this was only part of a record-setting one-game 10-home-run onslaught by the Jays. The Orioles contributed 1 home run of their own to tie the Major League record for combined home runs in a game by both teams, 11. And Ironman Cal Ripken Jr.'s string of consecutive innings played ended at 8,243. But his consecutive game streak continued. Good crowd at Shea Stadium watching. The Expos lead the New York Mets 3-1, while in Pittsburgh in the second, rather in St. Louis, Pittsburgh and the Cardinals are scoreless in the second. In the American League races, the Blue Jays now lead at Baltimore 5-0. And that game goes to the 6th inning. Jim Clancy in quest of his 15th win. Detroit leading their game 4-0 now in the top of the 6th. And if Detroit wins, Doyle Alexander will be 8-0. Meanwhile, the A's and the Indians are tied at 4. That's in the 5th inning.
It looks like the Blue Jays and the Tigers right down the wire, doesn't it?
Yeah. By the way, here comes the pitch to Howard Johnson. The Minnesota Twins, who lead that West Division, are trailing at home against Texas 1-0 in the 5th inning. Rangers leading. That's Guzman against Blyleven. Oddibe McDowell with a home run for the Rangers. Howard Johnson's 0 for 2 and hits a shot foul here. Johnson into the game, 36 home runs, 96 RBIs. But the top 3 in the New York batting order so far are 0 for 7 against Bryn Smith. Some activity in the Expos bullpen. 2 strikes on Hojo. Joe Hesketh, the left-hander. Jeff Parrott, the right-hander. Out beyond the left field fence. Looks like a dark corner of the ballpark, doesn't it?
It is a dark corner out there. Don't know that there's any lights turned in that direction.
Johnson hits one foul to the seats.
Now that was Brent Smith's palm ball right there. Didn't get it down quite enough. Hasn't resorted to that pitch very often tonight. Been with a fastball and the curveball a lot.
Switch hitter Howard Johnson, then a couple of left-handed batters, Hernandez and Strawberry coming up.
Now Brent tried to drop that curveball on the outside corner, and it didn't quite make it.
Two and two pitch. And it's still 2-2 as that ball was fouled straight back. The Expos scored a run in the first. Tim Raines with a triple, Hubie Brooks an RBI single. Raines doubled in the third inning, was moved to third, scored on a sacrifice fly by Brooks. Gary Carter drove in a run in the bottom of the fourth for the Mets. And the Expos got their third run in the fifth inning. A base hit by Mitch Webster to drive in Mike Fitzgerald. 3-1 Expos. And Howard Johnson pops it up for Tim Wallach. One down in the New York sixth. That'll bring Keith Hernandez to the plate.
First baseman, Keith Hernandez.
The New York Mets player of the game will receive a set of 6 Olympic coins, compliments of Mita Copiers. At Mita, we didn't get to be the fastest growing copier company by making cameras. Mita, all we make are great copiers. Reed Nichols chased down a Hernandez drive in the first inning, and Keith flied out to straightaway center in the fourth inning. Tomorrow night, Dennis Martinez will be pitching against the Mets. He's got the pad and pencil in hand, charting the game. And Ron Hansen, the first base coach, he is checking out the defensive charts that the Expos have for different Met hitters in different situations. One ball and one strike to Hernandez, who didn't agree with the call by the plate umpire Bob Engel.
I think Keith Hernandez is perhaps the most disciplined hitter in the National League. Understands and knows the strike zone, knows the pitcher so well, knows what he can do against each.
2 balls and 1 strike.
And he's the perfect guy to be a captain of a ball club because he really takes charge of the infield. In fact, he's the on-field manager, really.
Two and 1 pitch. And Hernandez rips a hard liner past Law. All of a sudden, a problem for Bryn Smith in that Darryl Strawberry, their big home run hitter, represents the potential tying run.
Going to get a good look at this pitch from behind the camera, behind the catcher, to see a pitch that was up just a little bit and just a little bit away from Vance Law's glove at second base. Just inches.
Ball 1 to Darryl Strawberry, and he wants a baseball check. In the very first game that Bryn Smith pitched, after being activated, the 1st of May, right here at Shea Stadium, Darryl Strawberry connected and hit a home run. Bryn leading by 2, 3-1. Checks Hernandez. Strawberry takes a strike. Strawberry's 38 home runs have broken the Met club record. Dave Kingman hit 37 here in 1976 and again in 82. So Strawberry with a new club record. And that's the concern with Strawberry up there in this situation, the long ball.
Exactly. Now, we talked about Hernandez being a very disciplined hitter. Here's a hitter that's one of the most natural hitters in the National League. He just does everything so natural. Just perfect timing. Hard, long, level swing. Great hand and eye coordination. And power.
2 balls and 1 strike to Strawberry. Here's the 2-1, and Strawberry hits the ball past Brooks out into left field. Mets are at first and second. 1 out, and Kevin McReynolds will be the batter.
Well, now there was a ball just inches off Vance Law's glove, and there's a ball just inches away from Hubie Brooks' glove. And there was a very good pitch, low and away to Strawberry. Went with the pitch, hit it on the ground, and instead of being a forced play at second base, it's through the left side for a base hit.
McReynolds has flied out to right. That's a play that Mitch Webster made, tumbling into the grass back in the second. He skied one to center in the 4th inning. The tying runs are on for the Mets.
Now Bryn needs a ground ball now right at somebody.
Ball 1 to McReynolds. Timeout. Larry Bernard, the pitching coach, will go out and talk to Bryn Smith. Back in the early 60s when Casey Stengel had his Youth of America program going on here at Shea, trying to bring some young area ball players into the major league scene with the expansion Mets, Larry Bernard was amongst them out of St. John's University. Pitched here for Casey and the Mets.
Bryn's only made the one mistake pitch in this inning, and that was the pitch, the breaking ball that he got up a little bit to Hernandez. Made a very good pitch on Strawberry. And I think the bench recognizes that Bryn has good stuff. And just give him a chance to have a breather. Talk about what they might want to do here with Kevin McReynolds.
McReynolds hits a shot past Wallach down the line. Here comes Hernandez on to score. Strawberry comes to third and holds on a double by McReynolds, and it's a 1-run game. 3-2 Expos, and Mets are at second and third.
Well, talk about inches again. That ball was just inches off Tim Wallach's glove. If Tim Wallach had come up with that ball, he could have made a forced play, perhaps at third base. Let's take a good look at this play now. Let's just see. There's a breaking ball here. Let's just see how close Wallach comes to that ball. In fact, it looked like the ball might have even gone under his glove.
Bryn Smith is out of the ball game after 5 1/3 innings and 3 straight hits here in the 6th, just past some gloves. Laws, Brooks, and Wallach. A game of inches right now, those inches in favor of the Mets. But the Expos lead on the scoreboard 3-2. Jeff Parrott coming in from the bullpen. The Expos right now need a strikeout or two, and Parrott can be that kind of pitcher.
Jeff Parrott is a hard ball pitcher, a good fastball and a good curve. He's 5-5 coming into the game with 6 saves. It's his 39th game with a 4.21 ERA. His hit ratio to innings pitched is excellent. 57 2/3 innings, 48 hits only. Walked 25, just a little bit high, but struck out 54. So he has almost 1 strikeout an inning, and that really qualifies him to be labeled in terms of strikeout pitcher. And he's got a job to do right here to keep the Mets from doing any further damage.
Meanwhile, in the game in St. Louis, the Pirates have scored a run, and they lead the Cardinals 1-0 in the 3rd inning. Right here, a 1-run lead for the Expos. Gary Carter coming to the plate. Fisher against left-hander Greg Matthews in the ball game at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Well, Jeff Parrott, in the last meeting between these two clubs, a two-game series at Olympic Stadium, did not get into any of those ball games. Back at the end of July, early August, he pitched in a couple of games against the New York Mets, not involved in any decision. Earlier in June, he pitched 2 games in a series against the Mets and was not involved in any decision. But in 3 of the 4 games that he's pitched against the Mets, they have scored against him. Oh, a rather dejected Bryn Smith sits now in the dugout, watching and hoping. Actually, Bryn is now up, taking a walk down that dugout. He looked out toward the mound, clapped his hands, and obviously said something in the way of some words of encouragement for Jeff Parrott, who comes into a tight spot. In Baltimore, the Blue Jays 5, Orioles nothing in the 7th inning, and George Bell has hit his 47th home run of the year. Detroit leading Boston 4-0 in the 7th at Fenway.
Well, the Expos defense will now be challenged as to how to play the middle of their infield right now. Brooks and Vance Law are deep. Buck has a play whereby they come in during the pitch. They might not want to come in and give an opportunity for 2 runs to score in this inning. I think the Expos would give up 1, but not 2.
A big jam for Jeff Parrott. And Gary Carter, the man in the spotlight for the Mets, 2 for 2. Foul ball back to our left.
Tim Wallach is playing at third base, whereby he could make a play at the plate on a hard hit ball. Galarraga the same way at first.
1 strike pitch. On the outside corner, a strike. 0-2. Buck Rogers has tried to bring Parrott along slowly. He started out with the club, got sent out to Indianapolis to try to learn more about the short relief role, came back with the ball club. He's handed him some big assignments. Carter lines a single to left. Here comes Strawberry. Right behind him is McReynolds, and the New York Mets turn it around. They score 2 on a hit by Gary Carter, and they lead the Expos 4-3.
Jeff Parrott made an 0-2 count mistake right there. Got a breaking ball up. Wanted to get this curveball down or low and away, but he got it up where Gary Carter could put the meat of the bat on the ball. That's the kind of a pitch you want to throw down, under the plate, low and away. Carter, as aggressive as he is, anxious to hit and get a base hit, may well have chased a tough pitch.
So the New York Mets have scored 3 times so far here in this 6th inning to turn it around. Gary Carter with a 2-run hit, his 3rd straight hit, and Tuffle swings and misses, strike 1. He has driven in 3 of their 4 runs. Tuffle has struck out twice. Pitches up high. 1 ball and 1 strike. That completes the record of Bryn Smith, 5 1/3 innings. Fastball in. Bryn giving up all 4 runs on 7 hits. He had 2 strikeouts, Tuffle both times, and Bryn didn't walk a batter. Randy St. Clair joins Joe Hesketh in the Expos bullpen. Breaking ball missing, and it is 3-1 on Tuffle.
Well, Carter obviously is not a base stealer, but a 3-1 count. He could be going on this pitch.
Tuffle taking one inside on a check swing. They're trying to appeal at first base, and on on the appeal. No swing, so there's ball 4.
Well, that's pretty well a borderline half swing right there. And Tim Tuffle is very lucky that one of the umpires didn't call a swing on that pitch.
Rafael Santana, the batter. He's lined to left and bounced to third base.
They just announced the attendance, 41,050. 41050.
One strike pitch and a foul ball. Still just one out. Five consecutive Met batters have reached base. Pitch in the dirt, blocked by Fitzgerald. With, of course, the paid attendance of over 41,000, the Mets continue on their way to becoming the first New York club to reach the 3 million mark in attendance. In their final 4 dates now, because they've gotten what they needed tonight, they have to average close to 39,000. Pitch in the dirt, moving the runners up.
Well, there was a breaking ball in the dirt. Jeff Parrott very quickly got to 0-2 on Santana, and then threw the pitch before this in the dirt. Now this pitch is way far in front of Mike Fitzgerald, and you see how far in front it was, and it might not have been the prescribed way to try to block that pitch, however.
What should he have done, Jim?
He could have opened up the glove the other way and knelt right in front of that ball. Smothered it in front of him. Good one-handed catchers so often make the mistake of trying to catch that ball, trying to backhand that ball.
Only one away. Mets at second and third. They lead by a run, and Santana hits a ball out of play to our right. Mets with 4 runs on 8 hits, and the Expos 3 runs on 5 hits. Well, Buck Rogers and Larry Bernard concerned about this situation. Infield is in, and Santana pops it up. Law wants this. 2 down. They're going to lift John Candelaria. Runners at second and third. And with the right-hander on the mound, Jeff Parrott, Dave Magadan will be sent to the plate. Now, does Buck Rogers want Parrott pitching to Magadan, a right-hander to a left-handed batter?
Well, his pitcher spot is the second up in the top of the 7th inning. And if he did anything here, it would be a double switch, of course. He'd bring in a pitcher and then another player. Magadan's a tough hombre because he takes the ball all over. He's liable to hit a line drive down the left field line. Can pull a ball. More than likely would pull only a breaking pitch. But he's a hitter that must be retired. Any more damage here, and it might be very, very difficult to catch up.
Tuffle and Carter at second and third. Carter with the big hit in the inning, driving in the tying run and the go-ahead run. Dave Magadan takes ball 1. He's hitting at .326. Got a couple of pinch hit home runs. The 1-0. And a called strike on Magadan.
Magadan is 6 for 28 pinch hitting, a .214 batting average in this role.
with a ground ball at Vance Law. He gets it on to first for the final out of the inning, but the New York Mets score 3 times on 4 hits. They leave 2. And as we go to the 7th inning at Shea Stadium, Mets 4, Expos 3. Recent baseball history. September 26, 1986, an overwhelming performance by Mike Scott of the Astros, who bids for a pennant-clinching no-hitter.
After about the first 3 innings, I think I went mostly with fastball and split finger, and it's the best split finger pitch I've had all year, I think.
Scott also retired 19 straight Giants en route to a divisional championship.
Swing and a bouncer. This could be it. Davis runs to the bag. Game is over. No-hitter. Astros win the championship. Holy Toledo!
You know, when that last ball was hit, and I knew it was there, and we'd won it, and everybody's jumping up and down, and I think for the next 10 minutes, I didn't even know where I was.
A great Scott achievement. Here's a right-hander who has been very tough on the Expos this year. An 11-1 record for Terry Leach, and victories for the Mets on the 16th of June against the Expos and on the 1st of August against the Expos. He also beat the Expos on the 11th of August. So Terry Leach, 3-0 against Montreal, and on in relief of John Candelaria. The Mets lead 4-3. Candelaria going 6 innings, allowing 3 runs on 5 hits. He struck out 6 and walked 2. And the Expos will have Mike Fitzgerald. Tom Foley is out at the on-deck circle to hit in the number 9 spot. And then Tim Raines will be due up. So the Expos, who led from the first inning until the bottom of the 6th, now are down by a run. And Leach on the mound. They really have something different to look at now, and you'll see the contrasting styles. Not just the fact that he's a right-hander and the Candyman's a left-hander, but in the style of pitching. So it's a whole new ball game for the Expos hitters, Jim.
Well, this is a very tough delivery. You can imagine batting from the right side of the plate and a pitcher throwing from the delivery point that Leach throws from. It's a bit intimidating.
2 strikes on Mike Fitzgerald. Dropped way down and sailed one way up high. 1-2.
It's amazing. His record is 11-1. Doesn't have a save.
5-0 lifetime against the Expos. And he was a non-roster player this spring, and look at what he's done to help the Met cause. 11-1. One ball, 2 strikes. Of course, the Mets have had one pitching problem after another, going right back to spring training when Dwight Gooden was admitted to the rehabilitation center. Fernandez has had a sore arm. Aguilera was hurting early. Bob Ojeda out. They've got him back now. 2-2. The latest casualty, of course, Ron Darling. They had Roger McDowell out for a while. And on it goes. Lost David Cohn for most of the summer. Oddibe McDowell has hit his 2nd home run of the game against the Minnesota Twins. And the Rangers lead at Minnesota 2-0 in the 6th. Now 3-2 on Fitzgerald.
Fitz laid off a tough breaking ball right there. From the delivery point of that release on that pitch, from that position, low, underhanded, and for that ball to curve out through the strike zone and then off of it, away from it, it's a tough pitch to lay off of.
Fitzgerald poking a fly ball to right, and Strawberry is there. One away, and the batter will be Tom Foley to hit in this 9th spot for Jeff Parrott.
Number 16, Tom Foley.
Tom Foley, a left-handed batter, and he's done a good job. You see the number there, 300 hitter for the Expos this year. Tom with 78 hits in 260 at-bats. Got a sore hand, heavily taped. He's been in a mini slump with 1 hit in his last 13 at-bats. A play for Hernandez, 2 down. Right now, in addition to looking at the 3-run New York 6th, you can go back and check out the Expos 5th. They had scored a run and had 2 men on with 1 out. And all the right people coming up, Hubie Brooks and Tim Wallach. And Candelaria got out of that, retiring Brooks on the fly ball to right, and then he struck Wallach out.
Right, that inning was an opportunity for the club. At that time, they had a 3-1 lead. That was the time that they could have broken it open. Not totally broken it open, but it had added some runs. Would have made that last inning a lot easier for Bryn Smith. It wouldn't have been quite the challenge that it was. You don't have much room to make an error, and a pitch awfully tough.
Ball 1 to Raines, who has gone 3 for 3 and has scored 2 runs. A triple, double, and a single. He needs a home run to hit for the cycle again. He's already done it once this year. 1 strike to Raines. Of course, in the very first series he played in here at Shea Stadium, he hit a couple of home runs. Changeup missed. 2 balls and a strike. Raines has hit a career high 18 this year.
Well, Tim needs to get on base. The combination now of Leach and Carter, he could steal on them.
Blow it inside.
Leach has a slow delivery to the plate. And of course, Gary doesn't throw near as well as he used to.
2 out, none on in the 7th. The New York Mets lead by a run, 4-3. What did the scouting report say on Tim Raines when you saw him at Sanford High School in Sanford, Florida?
Oh boy, it'd be fun to go back and look at those reports again. But they said a couple of things. One, he could really fly, that he could really run. And at that time, he was already a switch hitter.
Called strike on Raines, 3-2. Of course, Tim was a track star at Sanford High School in addition to an outstanding football player and a baseball player.
He didn't throw all that well at that time, and he didn't play a defensive position all that well. So it took a lot of his own initiative and hard work to make him a good fielder, and eventually came up with a very fine arm.
Raines grounding a ball foul at first base. When Timmy was growing up, his idol was Mickey Mantle. And then when he got older, finished up in high school and started his professional career, his idol became Joe Morgan, because Tim was a second baseman and he had seen all the things that Morgan could do. Hit home runs, steal bases, hit for a good average. And Raines thought, I can be that kind of a player. He sure was right.
Sure was.
3-2 to Raines. And a line drive, his 4th hit of the game. A base hit for Raines, and the tying run is on with 2 outs in the 7th inning.
Well, Tim on a 3-1 count right there hit a low sinker. May or may not have been a strike, but lined it into right field. We'll see how long it takes for him to get on his way to second base. Not as easy to pitch out for a catcher when he has to go to his left and then to second base as it is if he has a right-hand hitter going the other way.
Raines is on the move. Here's Carter's throw. Head first slide. Safe at second. The head first slide was the difference. Number 50 for Tim Raines, and the tying run is in scoring position for Mitch Webster.
Are you going to see Gary Carter throw a pitch out here now to the left of the plate? See Tim Raines never looking up, and the dive at second base. Just in under the tag. Carter got that ball away very quickly, as catchers can do when there's a pitch out.
1-2 on Webster, and he's in trouble.
I don't understand that first pitch. Carter was stepping out for a pitch out, but evidently Leach got that ball on the corner. So whatever that mix-up was, it worked out to the Mets' advantage.
Webster got a piece of it, fouled it back. If Webster can keep it going, Hubie Brooks will come to the plate. 2 outs. The tying run at second for the Expos. 2 strikes on Mitch Webster.
And you know Range is going to try to score on any kind of a base hit.
The pitch. Webster swings and misses. Strike 3. Terry Leach with a big strikeout.
Richard Williams, please report to the press team.
Here's the pitch. And it's in the strike zone. You can see where Gary Carter caught that ball right in the middle of the strike zone.
We'd like to invite each.
At the end of 6 1/2, 4-3 Mets. You're watching Expos baseball on CBC.
Elise Elliott, even Spuds McKenzie, everyone to join us in a chorus or two and take me out to the ball game.
Regardez bien, les aiguilles de cette montre vont disparaître. Et puis, elles reviennent. Parce qu'elles sont vraiment des pulsations électroniques lumineuses. C'est la merveilleuse montre Laser Beam qui deviendra bientôt l'une des plus recherchées jamais offertes. Dans le cadre d'une campagne de publicité spéciale, nous vous enverrons une de ces montres Laser Beam pour la somme modique de 15 $. Commandez maintenant. Un ordinateur est le cœur de cette montre Laser Beam. Elle est puissante et précise. Ses aiguilles mystérieuses attireront beaucoup d'attention. Vous obtiendrez une montre Laser Beam pour dame ou homme pour seulement 15 $. Commandez-en une deuxième pour 7,50 $ à moitié prix. Pour commander, composez le 1-800-268-6364, poste numéro 5. Ou postez 15 $ plus 2 $ de frais d'envoi à montre Laser Beam, case postale 9423Q, Sainte-Foy, Québec. Demandez-en une deuxième à moitié prix.
Dave Van Horn along with Jim Fanning at Shea Stadium in New York, and Joe Hesketh is in the game to pitch for the Expos. Bryn Smith started, was relieved by Jeff Parrott in the 6th inning. Parrott went 2/3 of an inning. And now Joe Hesketh. So the New York Mets get a little something different to look at in the left-hander.
Yes, they do. Now, Joe Hesketh just keeps getting a little better with each time out on the mound. Fastball, slider, change. In his 15th game now. One thing about him, he has been able to strike out the hitters. 22 innings, 22 strikeouts. So consider Joe Hesketh and his ability to strike out the hitters here.
Bottom of the 4th, 1-0. Pittsburgh leading St. Louis at Busch Stadium. The Blue Jays lead Baltimore 5-1 in the 8th now at Baltimore. Dykstra takes a strike. Dykstra tonight has gone hitless in 3 at-bats. Mets lead 4-3. 2 strikes on Dykstra. He'll be followed by Howard Johnson and Keith Hernandez. Toronto leading their game. The Tigers lead their game. Blue Jays lead Detroit by a half game in the standings. Dykstra hits a fister, and Brooks with a short hop pickup and got it to first base in time. What a play by Hubie Brooks.
What a play by Hubie Brooks. What an attempt to get to first base by Len Dykstra. Hubie just has this ball on the ends of his fingertips. Oh, what a jam shot that was. Here's the play by Hubie coming in hard. Just get that ball and guns it on the run. And it's close at first, and you see Dykstra slide across the bag.
Good play by the shortstop. One out. Howard Johnson will be the batter. He's now hitting right-handed with the left-hander out there. Johnson's bounced to second, fly to left, pop to third. Ball 1 to Johnson with Hernandez waiting. Well, you know that Toronto-Detroit situation is going to be resolved in the 7 games head-to-head that they play. As Alan Trammell said the other day, may the best man win. Two balls, no strikes to Johnson, who backed out. The Mets have a couple of pitchers up in their bullpen. Gene Walter, a left-hander. John Mitchell, a right-hander. Mets lead by 1 run. Johnson takes a strike.
And Hesketh is throwing very well. Good fastball. And what an addition that boy is going to be on this club next year from the first day of spring training. Joe Hesketh was coming along so well. Had his arm problems, and hopefully they're behind him now.
Johnson tests Brooks. The shortstop makes that play. Now 2 are gone in the New York 7th inning. The batter will be Keith Hernandez.
Mets first baseman Keith Hernandez.
Hesketh has had absolutely no qualms about his role. He is happy to be back, happy to be healthy and throwing the ball well. Right from the start, when he came back, a lot of people figured, well, sooner or later, as soon as he proves himself, he'll be given a start. Buck Rogers said no. Joe Hesketh said, I am happy to do whatever Buck wants me to do.
And it might have been the best course of action to continue to strengthen his arm, warming up in the bullpen, getting into games more often and frequently than you would be if you were a starter.
1-1 to Hernandez.
A lot of us are surprised even to see him pitching here in the major leagues this year.
Here's the 1-1. That's fouled away. I'll tell you, one pitcher who was tremendously impressed with the comeback of Joe Hesketh, and his spirits were buoyed, and that is one Bruce Sutter, who had an impingement of a nerve in his shoulder and subsequent surgery. And Sutter, in seeing Hesketh come back, has had high hopes now that he will make it back.
Through the years, so many pitchers have gone to Sutter and say, how do you throw that pitch that goes down so well? Here, all of a sudden, is a complete change about, and Sutter's going to a much younger pitcher and asking him about his arm problems.
1-2 pitch. And he struck Hernandez out. A good inning from Joe Hesketh. The Mets go in order in the 7th. However, as we go to the 8th, it's New York 4, Montreal 3.
To all the people who, with their spirits and their enthusiasm, make sure that each and every Expos game is a spectacular occasion, Labatt 50 says, bravo!
You'll never find a better kind of people. 50's the one.
To all who deserve and demand the best taste in beer, cheers!
You'll never find a better beer. 50!
8th inning now, 6-1, so that's just about over. Big game in the National League East in St. Louis. The Pirates continue to lead the Cardinals 1-0 in the 5th inning. And you'll remember that Vince Coleman, the Cardinal leadoff batter, a man who means so much to them, particularly in the close games, he was ejected by plate umpire Terry Tata in the 1st inning for arguing balls and strikes. Coleman out of that game.
Shortstop, UB Brooks.
UB Brooks up. The Expos need a rally.
Oh, the Expos need some long ball about right here. The long ball hitters are coming up.
Ball 1 to Brooks from Leach.
And UB's been hitting the ball so well as of late. And tonight, line drive to left, line drive, sacrifice fly to right, long fly ball to right.
A called strike.
Wallach due for a hit. Galarraga's due for a hit.
UB Brooks delivers the hit. A base hit to right center. And the tying run is on. Now, here is Tim Wallach. Wallach has struggled, Jim. He came into the game with just a half a dozen hits in his last 29 at-bats. Has struck out twice and flied out once tonight. Galarraga is on deck. He's cooled off a bit with the bat. So it's the right people, but they've both been cool.
That's about time for them both to get warmed up, I think. Tim Wallach has slid now under 300. First time he's been under 300 since way back.
Wallach drops one down to third. That doesn't surprise me at all. It went foul, strike 1.
Right, he does that quite well. In fact, that ball was just barely foul. It got it headed off at the beginning where it first landed on the ground and then sort of scooted off foul. On an AstroTurf field, that ball might have stayed fair.
Of course, Wallach has remained hot for most of the season. And the club leader in RBI, second in the league. Carter leading the bat, sitting right on home plate for him. And at any other time, Tim Wallach would be looking for the two-base hit or the long ball. But because he does not feel comfortable at the plate right now, he felt that the bunt single would help the ball club. 1 ball, 1 strike. Brooks, the potential tying run. They had Hernandez behind him. And you could see Keith looking over to the dugout. They said, no, get over there and hold him. There goes Brooks. And Wallach hits the ball and a towering foul ball way back to the left.
Now the hit and run was on. So Buck Rogers is trying to figure out some way to get something started here. Tim Tuffle was covering at second base, so there was a big hole on that side of the infield. But Tim had a full swing at that ball. It really hasn't taken anything away from Tim Wallach. The count is still 1-1. He's still in a good and comfortable count position. I think you'll see him just hitting away now, doing what comes natural.
Here's the 1-2. And Wallach swings away and misses. That's the 3rd time that he has struck out tonight. It's the 2nd strikeout for Terry Leach.
Here's the pitch, almost from a lower position than before. A tough pitch low and in. Probably was not a strike.
First baseman Andres Galarraga.
Galarraga has struck out twice and walked. So between Wallach and Galarraga, numbers 4 and 5 in the batting order, they have gone 0 for 6 with 5 strikeouts. Four 3 Mets, 8th inning. With one out, Leach concerning himself with Brooks and trying to keep him close and keep the double play intact. Breaking pitch and a strike to Galarraga.
Well, you have to have some patience off a fellow like Leach with that unusual and unorthodox delivery. And you can't get yourself out in front. You have to wait for pitches. Now, Galarraga takes the ball to the right side so well, it might be he would be best off by taking the ball up the middle or the right side, not trying to pull the ball. Peavy's not getting much of a lead and is not a threat to steal. But as long as Leach wants to give him that attention, that might take something away from pitching to Galarraga.
Galarraga hits it on the ground. Tuffle gets one. That's all they'll get. Brooks going in hard right at Santana, and Galarraga running hard, and there was no attempt to get the cat at first base.
Galarraga was taking the ball the other way, but got it on the ground. Had a good pitch to go the other way with. Ball had a little bit of sink in it, and the ball was hit on the ground.
Batting for center fielder Reed Nichols, number 3.
Herm Winningham will bat for Reed Nichols. Buck sending the left-handed batter up there against the right-hander, Terry Leach. The tying run at first base, 2 out in the 8th inning.
Oh, the Expos are running out of innings here. They have to keep this inning going. Down at the bottom of the batting order.
Winningham hits it foul out of play to the left side. Another ex-Met. The final in from Fenway Park. The Tigers have beaten the Red Sox 4-0, and Doyle Alexander is 8-0. How about that?
Well, he going to Detroit, Rick Russell going to San Francisco. Those were super acquisitions by those contenders.
We had a chance to see him briefly pitching for the Braves. Didn't look like he could get anybody out.
That's right.
He's 8-0 back over in the American League. 1 strike on Winningham, who's batting at .242. Mets up 4-3. A strike to Herman. 0-2 the count. Now, if you're wondering why the Expos are where they are here in this 8th inning, other than Hubie Brooks and Tim Raines, the Expos have 1 hit.
Ball was pretty low pitch on Herman Winningham, I think, and so does Herman.
Two-strike pitch coming up to Winningham. Ball 1.
Winningham is 5 for 15 in a pinch hit roll. That's .333. Has driven in 1 run. Has 4 home runs on the season and 40 RBIs.
Leach ready, the 1-2 pitch. And it is fouled off, and Carter couldn't quite hold on. He had it. The ball skimmed off, I think, the top of his mitt. And then he made a second attempt to grab for it. We'll get a look at it here.
Herman has a good swing at this pitch. It's nice enough in the strike zone. A good pitch to hit, really, and just hit the top of Carter's glove.
Two outs. And 1-2 again coming up.
Galarraga was edging off that time like he might be thinking about stealing second base.
I'd like to remind you the National and the Journal will follow right after this ball game. We're in the 8th inning. There goes Galarraga. Here's the throw by Carter, and at second, Galarraga is safe on a drop ball. as Santana tried to put the tag on Galarraga. He had him out and didn't hold on to the baseball. That could be a costly error for the New York Mets because it puts the tying run in scoring position. It brings Davy Johnson out of the dugout, and he's going to take Leach out of the ball game.
That was a perfect pitch for Gary Carter to throw to second base. You can see the ball is there in plenty of time. In fact, Galarraga gave away his steal because the previous time he had taken a step or two, and every catcher peripherally looks and see what the runner at first base is going to do on every pitch. And I think Gary Carter might have been just a little bit alerted that he might be going on the next pitch, which he did.
So the pitching change will take place. It is an error, not a stolen base. It is an error on Santana. We could see the umpire, Randy Marsh. He was all ready to call the out at second until that ball came loose. Santana just didn't hang on. And so Randy Myers comes on to pitch now. And Davy Johnson opting to bring the left-handed pitcher in here. And Randy Myers is a young pitcher, Jim, who has really done a good job for the New York Mets and has been given the assignments normally accorded Jesse Orosco.
Right. Myers is in his 50th game right now. And by virtue of all the problems that the Mets team has had with their pitchers, he's been given all kinds of opportunities. 2-6 with 5 saves. Made a contribution to this club, unquestionably. Has a 3.78 ERA. And in 69 innings, 53 hits, which is excellent. 29 walks, just a little bit high. But listen to this stat, and it'll give you an idea of what kind of stuff Randy Myers has. He has struck out 84 in 69 innings. Now, when you do that and you have a number like that for strikeouts, you are a definite strikeout pitcher. And this is going to be a great challenge for Dave Engel, who is now going to come up to a hit with the count 2-2 on him. He'll be pinch hitting here for Herman Winningham. But the club knows Myers, and they've seen him before. He has a good fastball, and Engel is a good fastball hitter. And the count is 2-2, so there's not much room for Myers to work.
Interesting move made by Davy Johnson. As soon as that runner got in scoring position, then he opted to have the left-handed pitcher continue to work to the hitter. Now, he has already weighed the possibilities. Buck Rogers now makes a move, sending the right-handed batter Dave Engel up, and what a spot for Engel. The tying run out at second base, but the count is already 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Tough spot.
He inherits the count that Winningham had. And here's the pitch by Myers, and it is chopped foul left side. Boy, talk about a situation where you have to be ready.
Well, Dave Engel was ready to swing the bat right there, too. A quick bat. Fouled that ball past third base. But Dave Engel's been around the block a few times. He's had this job, this assignment, pinch hitting. He knows what it's all about.
A fastball fouled back, and how Engel got a piece of that, I'll never know.
He really had a swing at that pitch. If he makes contact with that pitch, that ball is hit. Fastball against a fast bat. Very interesting challenge right here.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Tying run at second. Foul ball.
Well, that was kind of a high slider right there. So Dave Engel has been on the fastball, and he's been on the slider, and I think he might have broke his bat.
Engel back for New Wood. Herm Winningham standing down in that area of the dugout. Some words of encouragement for Dave Engel.
Well, if Dave makes it out here, it's Winningham's at bat. So that at bat would be credited to Winningham. Of course, if whatever Engel does, if he gets on by a hit or walks, of course, then that is Engel's.
That pitch is low, and the count is now 3-2.
And to lay off that tough breaking ball, that's good.
Myers stepped off. He struck him out. Randy Myers striking out Dave Engel, leaving the potential tying run at second base. No runs, one hit, one error, one left. And at the end of 7.5 innings, New York 4, Montreal 3. This is Expos baseball on CBC.
It's 3:42, but afternoon practice means afternoon hunger.
If I'm dancing and I'm hungry, I eat a Snickers, and then I can dance again.
The first step is eating the Snickers bar and getting rid of my hunger so I can get on to the next step, which is playing ball.
You know, my mom will keep Snickers in the cabinet in the kitchen, you know, and I'll go get one, and it fills me up, push me through till dinner.
Snickers, crunchy peanuts, peanut butter nougat, caramel, and milk chocolate.
I'm so hungry.
Packed with peanuts, Snickers really satisfies.
Snickers really satisfies you.
Well, you know, there's a way of life around here. Says the things you love are worth protecting. My machinery? I use quality SO oils. And this little beauty, too. Only Protect. Real good engine protection. It's like you want something to last, you take care. You protect the things you love.
The Esso Baseball Clinic with Montreal Expos pitcher Bob McClure. It's a fact you cannot be a major league hitter unless you can hit the major league curveball, like the one thrown by Bob McClure. McClure throws it this way, fingers on the seams like so, with a sharp turn of the wrist and rolling the ball off the index or first and second fingers. Watch how it curves. Some still maintain the curveball is an optical illusion, in fact, traveling in a straight line. That's hard to believe watching these pictures. It definitely curves in a major league way. Bob McClure's curveball from the Esso Baseball Clinic.
Casey Candel comes into the ball game to play in center field for the Expos. Joe Hesketh continues. He worked a perfect 7th inning. And now goes after Strawberry, McReynolds, and Carter here in the 8th. The New York Mets lead 4-3. One strike on Strawberry, who is 2 out of 3 and has scored 2 of their 4 runs. 1 ball, 1 strike. In St. Louis, they're in the top of the 6th inning. The Pirates lead the Cardinals 1-0. Brooks. And he gets Strawberry at first base. 1 away in the 8th.
Coming around to the plate, left fielder, Kevin McReynolds.
Bottom of the 8th at Baltimore. Blue Jays lead the Orioles 6-1. Final score in. Detroit beat Boston 4-0. The game has gone to the 9th inning at Baltimore. So let's update that quickly. It is in the 9th and 6-1 Toronto. With a victory, they'll stay a half game ahead. 1 strike pitch and ball 1 to McReynolds. He doubled in the 6th inning to drive in the 2nd Met run. And then that set the stage with McReynolds at 2nd and Strawberry at 3rd. Jeff Parrott came on, allowed the base hit to left by Carter. That turned the game around. Wallach with a fielding play, and McReynolds is out. The Expos had a 3-1 lead going into the 6th inning. Two outs, Carter up, 3 for 3, and 3 RBIs. Considering the fact that Gary came into this game hitting .120 against the Expos, it would appear he saved the best for last, and he's 4 for 4. Carter with 4 singles for the Mets. Tim Raines with 4 hits for the Expos, but the Mets lead 4-3.
So Gary had a pitch away from him and just kind of tapped the ball through the right side.
Carter's second 4-hit game of the year. He had one against the Cubs. Tim Tuffle has struck out twice, walked once. One strike on Tuffle. The Expos had a couple of leads. They led 2-0 at the end of 3. Led 3-1 at the end of 5. There's a line drive to right center, and Candelaria catching that sinking line drive hit by Tuffle. Good play by Casey in center field. No runs, a hit. Carter is left, and we'll go to the 9th inning at Shea. 4-3 New York. This is Expos baseball on CBC.
To all the people who, with their spirits and their enthusiasm, make sure that each and every Expos game is a spectacular occasion, Labatt 50 says, bravo!
You'll never find a better kind of people. 50's the one.
To all who deserve and demand the best taste in beer, cheers!
You'll never find a better beer. 50!
For the best protection in a tough game, nothing tops the Cooper All girdle, except this. Introducing the new Upper Body Protector. The next step in the Cooper All system. Lightweight and comfortable. It stays with you on impact. Flexing and protecting like a second skin. Get the Cooper All Upper Body Protector, part of the Cooper All system, because when you get hit in the game of hockey, you get hit hard.
For being fans, like you ought to be.
This program is authorized under television rights granted by the Montreal Baseball Club Limited solely for the entertainment of our audience, and any publication, reproduction, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Montreal Baseball Club Limited is prohibited. 4-3 Mets in the 9th inning here at Shea Stadium. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Pirates lead the Cardinals 1-0 in the bottom of the 6th. Brian Fisher pitching a dandy so far for Pittsburgh. Greg Matthews on the mound for the Cardinals.
Attention, please. For the Mets, now pitching on batting fifth, number 42, Roger McDowell.
Roger McDowell is on to do the pitching for the New York Mets. His last time out, he had all kinds of problems at Chicago. Had a lead in the late innings, and the Cubs came back to win it. That was Rick Sutcliffe's victory.
For the Expos, second baseman.
He had a problem with wild pitches, hits. Has a good sinker, one of the best sinkers in the National League. He's a fine relief pitcher for the Mets.
Broken bat, bloop out into center field. Vance Law with a hit, and again the tying run is on. The fans are booing, but Roger McDowell shattered Vance Law's bat.
Well, when you break a man's bat like that, you've obviously either made a good pitch or the man has jammed himself. Let's take a good look at it right here. Looked like it might just have been a weak bat because the ball looked like it hit pretty well on the meat of the bat. Just right to fall into short center field.
The tying run on for the Expos with Mike Fitzgerald up. He reached on an error by the shortstop Santana in the second. Santana's made 2 errors in the game. He walked and scored a run in the 5th inning. And facing Leach in the 7th, he flied to right. Fitzgerald swings, misses, strike 1.
Well, Mike will be swinging here all the way. I doubt very much if Buck would put on a hit and run. Doesn't want to take any real chances. The only problem he might have is Fitzgerald not being a very good runner and is vulnerable to hit into a double play.
That's a final from Baltimore. The Blue Jays will remain a half game ahead of the Tigers in the American League East. Tigers beat Boston 4-0. Timeout called for here. Wallace Johnson on deck. Here's the 1-strike pitch. Called strike 2. I thought maybe when I saw timeout called for, I thought maybe the Expos were going to run at first base for long.
I still think that might not be a bad decision. You want somebody there that can score on an extra base hit. Tom Romano is probably one of the better runners in the dugout.
Fitzgerald hits one foul out of play down the right field line.
Buck still has Rivera as a middle infielder in the dugout.
Roger McDowell, 24 saves. That's a Met club record for a right-hander.
He's given up more hits than innings pitched this year, so he's had a chance to. Here's Jesse Orozco down in the Met bullpen.
Fastball past Fitzgerald. Another key strikeout. One down.
This McDowell's pitch now to Fitzgerald. The fastball pretty well in the center of the strike zone. I think Tom Romano is going to pinch run here. If that's Tom Romano, I believe it is.
So he is now in the game.
And running for second baseman,
Wallace Johnson, the batter.
Romano.
The Expos' top pinch hitter. Ninth inning. Mets lead 4-3. There you see Wallace's numbers for the year, but as a pinch hitter, 16 for 57. And those 16 hits have produced 12 runs.
Romano stole 16 bases at Indianapolis this summer, but I don't think you'll see him running to second base or trying to steal second base. But he has a great opportunity to score on a double, for instance, or go to third base on anything hit through the middle or the right side.
281 as a pinch hitter for Wallace Johnson. He looks at a strike.
These two are playing a little cat and mouse game. Wallace gets ready, steps back, now he's in.
Ball one. 1 ball, 1 strike. It was right here in this ballpark in 1981 that Wallace Johnson drove a triple into right center, scored a run for the Expos, gave them a victory that provided them with the second half title. A ball and 2 strikes to Johnson from McDowell.
A good breaking ball, low and in.
Well, when they take the caps off, turn them inside out like that, they call it a rally cap. That's what the Expos are hoping for. They're down by a run. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Wallace Johnson.
Wally has an excellent eye at the plate. I would think if the count were to go to 3-2, and as well as he can put the bat on the ball, probably Romano would be going to second base. But it's only 2-2 right now.
Johnson pulling a ball, but foul first base side.
Johnson has only struck out 4 times in 76 at bats, so he's a tough hitter to strike out. McDowell threw him 2 breaking balls in a row.
Tom Romano, the pinch runner. Ball 3 and strike 2 to Wallace Johnson.
Well, we see now what Buck decides to do with Romano at first base. Option of running him or play it safe. But the fact that Johnson puts the bat on the ball and knows the difference between a strike and a ball, I think we'll see him running.
There goes the runner, and the ball is fouled back up into the seats.
Johnson and Carter got tangled up there a little bit. Johnson had a big swing at that pitch.
Had my eyes glued on that. I was going to see whether they uncoupled gracefully or snarled at each other. There's a man with 4 hits tonight. He'd love to get a shot at getting his 5th hit. Johnson's got to stay out of the double play.
Well, with Romano running, unless, of course, he were to strike out and Carter would throw out Romano. But if he's running, unlikely there'll be a double play.
3 and 2 on Wallace Johnson. McDowell is set. There goes the runner. The ball is hit foul at third base. Good pickup by the ball girl, but wouldn't that have been something had that stayed fair? That would have gotten Romano home.
Yep. Good at bat so far by Wallace Johnson. Tough at bat.
Romano the pinch runner, McDowell the pitcher, Johnson the hitter. Three and 2 again. Runner goes. Ball chopped to the left side. Johnson, the third baseman, throws to first in the dirt, and it's handled by Keith Hernandez. 2 away.
Well, Keith Hernandez caught that ball, but he caught it way up in the heel of his glove. Wallace Johnson taps that breaking ball. Howard Johnson here comes in, makes the play to first base. Not all that close, really, but you see that ball way up in that glove of Keith Hernandez. But there's a runner there for Tim Raines.
Tim Raines will be looking for his 5th hit if they give him anything. Raines tripled and scored in the first, doubled and scored in the third. Got an infield hit in the 5th inning on a chopper toward third. Single to right center in the 7th. Romano, the tying run in scoring position. In the dirt and a block by Carter.
Not a good play by Carter.
Ball 1. Stottlemyre wants to talk to McDowell.
Here's how to catch a low ball in the dirt. Turn the glove the other way. Get in front of it with your body, just exactly like Gary Carter learned how to do it way back in Jamestown, New York, and Daytona Beach, and many spring trainings. Must have done it 10,000 times.
The pitching coach has had his say. Carter stays on for a few final words with the left-hander Orozco in the bullpen. And with the likes of Webster, Brooks, and Wallach coming up, you don't expect to see Orozco in here unless McDowell really comes undone.
All the infielders are very, very deep, so if Tim Raines would happen to bounce one someplace, he well could have an infield hit.
Raines takes a strike. 1-1. 2 out in the 9th. Mets lead 4-3. McDowell checking Romano, the pinch runner. Ball 2 and a strike.
Well, Tim Raines knows the difference between a ball and a strike, and he's not going to offer it anything that isn't the kind of a pitch he wants right now. He's ahead of McDowell.
By the way, I want to point out quickly, Mookie Wilson's in left field here in the 9th. In the dirt, ball away from Carter. Here's Romano on to third, and the tying run is now 90 feet from home.
Well, Gary tried to block that ball just like he did the other one, but somehow or other that one got away from him.
A wild pitch thrown by McDowell.
Let's watch Carter on this one. Just a little later getting down on that ball. The other pitcher was well prepared, got down very, very quickly. Now, that was a breaking ball, and Gary, had he been a little more alert, knowing it's a breaking ball, knowing that the only place he can't catch it is right under him, he'd have got down for it.
3 balls and 1 strike to Tim Raines. Wilson in left field. Dykstra in center, Strawberry in right. Wilson came in at the start of this 9th inning.
Howard Johnson at third base has now moved up even on the bag.
3-1. Low to Raines. He is on base. He really didn't get anything to hit.
Didn't get a pitch to hit. Not one.
That leaves it to Mitch Webster. Here's the way the night's gone for Webster. With Raines at third base in the first inning, Webster struck out. With Raines at second base in the 3rd inning, he sacrificed, putting Tim at third. Then Webster singled to drive in a run in the 5th inning. With Raines at second in the 7th inning, he struck out. So 1 out of 3, an RBI. Tying run at third, go-ahead run at first, 2 out in the 9th. 1 strike on Mitch Webster.
This might be very interesting now if Tim Raines were to happen to steal second base or attempt to steal, to see what Gary Carter would do. There's an unwritten rule, or it is written, that you don't throw to second base, or you do throw to second base to keep the winning run off that bag. However, Romano runs well, and he could come home on that play. First of all, we'll see what Raines does about it.
1 strike on Webster. Strike 2. And now 41,000 plus, and they all stand here at Shea. 2 strikes on Mitch Webster with 2 out and 2 on.
It'll be interesting now to see if McDowell throws the breaking ball, throws it low. He's already thrown one past Carter. Carter made an excellent stop on another one.
McDowell is set. He struck him out to end the ball game. Roger McDowell struck out Mitch Webster on 3 pitches. With the tying run at third, the go-ahead run at first. And the New York Mets have beaten the Expos 4-3. You're watching Expos baseball on CBC. The final score, 4-3 Mets. We'll be back with our post game in a moment.
Anna Dixon has dreams of the Olympics.
Been up all night again?
But not as an athlete. As a Canadian women's figure skating coach, she works hard. At 3M, we understand Olympic dreams don't happen alone. When you buy official 3M or Scotch brand products, 3M will make a contribution to Olympic coaching.
Great routine. Hope it didn't take too long. No, all in a day's work.
3M, supporting the dream.
New York,
Shea Stadium fans and Labatt players of tonight's game, for the Expos, Tim Raines, and for the New York Mets, Gary Carter. They will receive a set of 6 Olympic coins courtesy of Mita Copiers. Raines with 4 hits, scored 2 and was on base 5 times. Gary Carter had 4 hits, had the big hit of the night in the 6th inning, Jim, that turned the game around, drove in 3 of the 4 Met runs.
Sure did. And Jeff Parrott had him no balls and 2 strikes and made a very bad hanging curveball that Carter got out in front of easily and lined it into left field for 2 RBIs. That was one of the biggest mistake pitches of the game.
So a 4-3 victory for the New York Mets, who once again are a game and a half ahead of the Expos. And the Expos will watch the scoreboard closely to see if the Pirates hold on in St. Louis. 4-3 Mets, and you're watching Expos baseball on CBC.
Let me see. Grandpa fussed over this logging camp for 40 years. Well, it's my turn to fuss now. In my equipment, I still use quality S oils. In this honey, too. Only Protec. Real good engine protection. Grandpa and I keep on fussing. Because you want to keep them around. You protect the things you love.
McDonald's introduces omelets you can hold in your hand.
Come on.
New Omelet McMuffin.
Hold on to a great new taste, an omelet you can hold in your hand.
You're kidding, a what?
That's right, ham and cheese or bacon and cheese.
Hang on to the great new taste.
Omelet McMuffin.
Really?
Yeah, ham or bacon with melting processed cheese on a buttered toasted English muffin.
An omelet you can hold in your hand.
You got
It's
it.
a good time for the great taste of McDonald's.
New Omelet McMuffin.
At Shea Stadium in New York, a 4-3 win for the New York Mets over the Expos, and I suppose lost in the excitement of the 9th inning is the fact that John Candelaria comes out the winner in this. His first win back in the National League now. Gave the Mets a shot in the arm when they needed it. Roger McDowell with the save, Bryn Smith the losing pitcher. But the key was a hit by Gary Carter to turn the ball game around. The inning seemed to snowball.
Right. The 3 hits that preceded the Carter hit were balls just off the glove of Law at second base. Another one just away from Hubie Brooks at shortstop. And another one just out of reach of Tim Wallach.
So a game of inches, and those inches went in favor of the New York Mets tonight as they came from behind and beat the Expos 4-3. The last score we had was the 1-0 lead for the Pirates in St. Louis in the late innings in that ball game. Dave Van Horn along with Jim Fanning and our CBC crew saying so long from Shea Stadium in New York, where the Mets beat the Expos 4-3. Labatt Expos baseball on CBC. Brought to you by Labatt, proud sponsor of the 1988 Winter Olympic Games. And by Esso, makers of Protec engine oil. Protect the things you love. And by 3M, worldwide sponsor of the 1988 Olympic Games.